This is
the opposite. Yeah.
But then I won't stay. It's for us. They had no fear, no fear at all. It was he must not, it was not, let him be praised. He must not, it was not, let him be praised.
What are you waiting for? Come together, calling from near and far. Know who you are. What are you waiting for? Rally up, it's Exodus. What are you waiting for? Ancestors paved the way for us. Yes, I am Ketis Oyonde, asking, what are you waiting for to come together? The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is the Lion's Voice.
Greetings, this is Warrior King, and the time has come for the lions and the lioness to tell their own story. This is the Lion's Voice. Give thanks and praise for the wonderful blessing that's been poured on me. Give thanks and praise. Jah use I as an instrument to set the people free. Jah give her the power to chant. Jah give her the power to chant. Ras Tafari, the Lion's Voice.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega, representing for all lions and lionesses. With the Lion's Voice, we come to tell our story. Ras Tafari, live it. Hey, the Lion's Voice, Ras Tafari.
Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to the Lion Voice, because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here, hear me now. Yeah, the Lion's Voice. Raw.
Well, Lion Voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion Voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion Voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion Voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion Voice. Never conquer the mountains, thousands of years and counting. Ethiopia rise again unto the world. Now we are announcing. Them a plan for war, we a plan for peace. And now we see them wanna go dismantle the base. When the trumpet sound and the violence cease, how we say one go build up the cities. Well, them a plan for war, we a plan for peace. And now we see them wanna go dismantle the base. Rastafari crown as the Prince of Peace. Him tell the youths them fi build up them countries. Well, for unto us a son was born and a child was given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders, and his name shall be called the Wonderful Counselor, Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Them call him Ras Tafari. When he was born, rain fall from sky. Them call him Ras Tafari. When he was grown in airplanes he fly. They call him Ras Tafari. Lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Them call him List of Tafari, read the Revelation chapter 5 verse 5. Then, born near the city of Harar, the inspiration for Bob Marley's guitar. People crowd him like some big superstar. It no matter if England or Cote d'Ivoire, no matter if you're brown or black like Qatar. Haile Selassie Sefi and all tribal war. Time fi gather Mount Zion, fi drive solar car from the car straight to Zanzibar. Who we are, the sons of Mr. Tafari. When he was born, rain fall from the sky. Mr. Tafari, when he was grown in airplanes he fly. Mr. Tafari, the lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Mr. Tafari, we do everything.
iRoots Records, an online shop for reggae and dub vinyl, CDs and Rastafari books. Rastafari owned and operated for over 15 years. We ship worldwide. We have many titles from Frontline Publications in stock. We have 50 plus Akabeka Midnight titles, which we believe is the most of any shop in the world. Special invite for the Lion Pride. Use code Lion's Voice and save 10% store-wide. If you spend $125 or more, the discount goes up to 15%. Visit us online at www.irootsrecords.com. The time has come.
321 Productions and RBG Alliance presents the 3rd annual Conscious Reggae Concert Family Unity Fest,
featuring the Abyssinians, Aisha Bell, Mary Isaacs, Ragalux, I Brave, and many more at the Jammings in New Kingston. 2,500 pre-sold, 3,000 at the door. Children under 12 for free. Don't miss the Abyssinians live in Kingston, Jamaica. Can't be missed. History.
In the haunting echoes of violence against women in St. Anne, Jamaica, a mysterious vigilante emerges. For the Woman Painted Purple unfurls a gripping narrative of empowerment, retribution, and the pursuit of justice. Brenda and her group sisters bond together in therapy over their common struggles, but soon their group becomes the subject of an investigation. As the vigilante's actions escalate, the relentless detective, Officer Woodley, races to unmask the mystifying figure. For the Woman Painted Purple is a pulse-pounding tale that explores the boundaries of justice, revenge, and the fighting spirit. This thrilling saga delves into the complexities of dealing with mental health, domestic abuse, and finding love after. Own your copy today. Visit www.devonigreen.com.
This is The Black Heart Man, Rastafari children's picture book, with hand-painted illustrations and rhythmic storytelling. This is a journey you do not want to miss. We offer worldwide shipping, so order your copy today at www.thegriospaintbrush.com. Alternatively, you can order your copy from TikTok. If you are interested in stocking the book, please email us at thegriospaintbrush@gmail.com. Give thanks.
Jamaica to Toronto, the Rastafest movement rises again. This August 15 and 16, Rastafest 2026 returns to Little Jamaica in Toronto with reggae music, Rastafari culture, Thau food, arts, reasoning, and unity. But this year, it's more than a festival. Rastafest is partnering with the Rastafari mansions and organizations to support the Relief, Rebuild, Rise initiative, helping Rastafari families and communities rebuild, resist the risk of disasters, and to rise to their true potential. This is culture with a cause. Full joy the music, support the mission. Donate to the Relief, Rebuild, Rise GoFundMe through the link in the RMO Jamaica Instagram profile. Rastafari.
Save the date. Join us on Sunday, August 9th, 2026 at 5 p.m. for the 25th annual fundraiser for the Shashamane Foundation at the Silver Spring Civic Center, Great Buffalo Hall in Silver Spring, Maryland. Come be a part of an evening that helps transform lives by supporting quality education and sustainable development at the JRDC School in Shashamane, Ethiopia. Your presence and generosity help empower children, strengthen communities, and build a brighter future. Can't attend? You can still make a difference by donating at shashamane.org or by scanning the event QR code. Mark your calendar, bring your family and friends, and let's build a lasting legacy together. We'll see you there. Rastafari TV and Sight Media are proud sponsors of the Shashamani Foundation.
Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of his chosen queen, Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwasi Bansu, aka the Chasmach Kwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Pan-African Happy Man, creative industry attorney. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an actionist, and right now I am the host of Lion Talk Live. Welcome to Lion Talk Live, and welcome to the Lion Voice Network, where the lions are telling our own story. This morning, this afternoon, we have a very special episode of Lion Talk Live. This one is going to be a classic. I don't have to guess. This one will be shared widely. Big up all of those who are catching this live. I know it's going to be a very intense reasoning, and we're just going to set some ground rules from early, because we know that ones get passionate, but we want facts over feelings. We want, balance the reasoning in the comment section. We have the greatest comment section on the planet Earth. Let me just say that first. Big up the Lion Pride. If you subscribe, you're part of the Lion Pride. We crossed 76,000 subscribers. So big up all of the ones them around the world who have been sharing, subscribing, telling their brethren and sisters. This is the platform now that the global family comes to get information, to network, to find out what's happening. And we have destroyed the mythology on this channel that Rastafari is not doing any work. We have destroyed the fact that people are saying Rastafari is divided. Yes, there's division, but it's not everything, And on this channel, we focus on what's working. We focus on, overcoming the problems. And that is why we are addressing this topic today. Rastafari vibration is positive. When you check His Majesty, the diplomacy, there's one framework that has been put forward, even in dealing with difficult and hard challenges and reasonings. So it's with that iris I'm asking everyone in the comment section, everyone on the panel, that we are speaking from a place of love, that we are, taking as a baseline that Africa must be united, liberated, and free. That's our baseline. So everything else, we're reasoning about the nuanced Rastafari perspective, because this is a Rastafari perspective on what's happening in South Africa. So just be clear, respectful in the comment section. Name calling, we're going to remove the I, because this is a big people reasoning. So no name calling, those things, we don't want it. We're just setting the ground rules, because over here on the Lion Voice Network, we deal with something we call the Rastafari Man Standard, meaning this is not a loosey-goosey, because I know a lot of people will be watching this for the first time and you feel like Rastafari is just reggae, and you burn a chalice and you smoke a spliff and you kick up your foot, and that is not Rastafari. Rastafari is the pre-coronation name of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I, who was hailed by the people as the Almighty in flesh and bone. The people he didn't declare himself as such is the people of the earth who, through observing his discipline, his achievements, the aura, the divine presence, is the people declare him as Jah. And this is historical fact. This is not feelings. We're just declaring facts. All right. So in that sense, Haile Selassie the first is the leader of the Rastafari movement. Anything else is something else. You know what I mean? And we give thanks. To deal with this topic, I had to call my esteemed elder from outer Chicago, one of our great geopolitical analysts, the founder of Frontline Books, a legend in Rastafari, out of Chicago, the elder Ras Sekou Tafari. Ras Sekou, anytime you're ready to turn on your camera, turn on your camera. And the reason I did that is because Ras Sekou is one of the elders who chanted for the liberation of South Africa through the apartheid struggle. Ras Sekou is one of the ones who was publishing newspaper, the premier Rastafari newspaper, Rastafari Speaks, during the apartheid struggle, studied deeply the apartheid struggle. And so, you know, I wanted an elder with I who could also be equipped to deal with this topic. So let me bring forward our elder, Ras Sekou Tafari. Royal greeting, Ras Sekou.
Thanks, Joshua Squassy. Give thanks for being here. Give thanks for the High Majesties. And we give thanks to all the ones who are watching from far, near and far. We give thanks to be able to be here to present and to talk and to share the platform with the I and all the others who will be participating, full CPT. Give thanks.
Yes, and part of why I wanted to do this reasoning is also that I and Rastafari can come up with, you know, what is our framework when we're discussing this topic. And I wanted to have South African races because I had suggestions from other ones to come on the panel. But I felt it was very important to reason with our brethren and sistren born and raised in South Africa on this topic. And I also want us to come up with some strategies and solutions as Rastafari, because I hold the position that Rastafari is the Pan-African glue that is going to make the United Africa work. You know, I don't see any other philosophy. I don't see any other power on the continent that can unite, that can take on the tribalism and all of these things other than Rastafari, you know. So I want us to think about solutions as well as identifying the challenges, and we're going to talk about the scope of the challenge as well. Before we bring forward our esteemed panel, Ras Sekou, is there anything that I want to say on South Africa just generally? Azania.
Well, I would like to say that as South Africa has always been a place very close to me in terms of my heart. I always supported the struggle over the last 50 plus years, what was taking place, you know, keeping in touch, first from the Caribbean and then later on in the UK and then later on in the US. So we always follow the struggle and we always support the smashing of apartheid in whatever form and in whatever way. So we are glad to be here, and we know that there's a serious situation taking place on the continent, especially in South Africa, and we definitely would like to be put forward some of the solutions that we think, even though we are not there, we like to put forward some solutions that we think should be looked at in terms of making the situation go away, because Africa must unite and Africa must be liberated and free under one people and one government. Give thanks.
Give thanks, give thanks. So we have an esteemed panel. I have heard from the beloved Sister Mimi, who is no stranger to this channel. She's sealing up with a family situation, so she'll be joining us shortly. But our other panelists are here. So I want to just get straight into it to introduce our panel. I think all of them have been on this platform except we have a new guest, and I'm going to have her introduce herself first. This is a big reggae star from what I'm hearing in South Africa. My mama, how is everything? Please introduce yourself.
Greetings, family, in the name of Imperial Majesty and Her Majesty Empress Menenai. I greet you with love and honor and respect. My name is Zoliswa Kawe, and my stage name is Empress Hotep. I'm an actress, a professional actress.
Okay.
I'm a reggae musician, and
Okay.
also I'm a humanitarian.
Okay. Give thanks.
And thank you, my brother, for inviting me.
Yes.
It's the first time for me in this channel, and I'm also greeting the elder with much respect. And the panelists, I greet them with respect. Rastafari.
Yes, give thanks. And I'm going to have you to come forward by yourself so we can hear your story, your journey, how you became an artist, a musician. So this is just part one, my sister. We don't do one-time appearances on this platform. This is your platform,
Rastafari.
my platform. So just know that this is just an intro. All right. So I'm going to introduce our guest, who is no stranger to the platform as well, our beloved elder. Hold on a second here. This is the Field Marshal Thau, Royal Blessings Field Marshal. You have to unmute it yourself.
Unmute, can
There you go.
My mic is
go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear the eye. Just introduce the yourself.
Yes, hi. Greetings, Rastafari, greetings to the elder Ras Sekou Tafari, a legend. I've read a lot of works by the elder for many years in my rising in Rastafari. And greetings also Rastafari, greetings to the Jazmark. Kwasi, it will be maybe our third time here, having these reasonings, different reasonings. To Mama Zo, my beloved Mama, one of our Rastafari matriarch. Don't look at her baby face. She's been in the movement longer than most of us from the 80s. During the not great apartheid. And we have taught a lot, me and her, through the Rastafari United Front, through the Naya Bingi, through different works. So I have much love and respect for the mother. Give thanks for the platform. I saw Ras Sekou, the advocate, was supposed to be be part of the platform.
Yes,
in the platform, I also greet Sekou. He's my brethren. We will also council conference, the 10th conference in our province in Limpopo, where we are having this Rastafari Nation.
Okay, we have a little
time. The Nyabingi IP came through in 1997, 98, and helped I to set it up. But now we call Rastafari Nation Council. It represents about 33 Rastafari organizations in South Africa and 7 churches of the Order of His Majesty. So Rasipo is our legal expert, our talking book, our library on lakes, our historian par excellence. He's able to tell you each day of the year from January 1st to December 31st. It's a great asset and institutional memory. It's a great thing that we are assembled here today. And also Sister Mimi in absentia.
We're not hearing the eye so clear, Elder. The eye can put some more volume. The eye is muted now. The eye is muted. All right, we're gonna work out the technology of our beloved Elder.
I can't hear very well. I guess I'm trying to in the background.
The eye is muted. Was muted, and your volume is coming in low. So we're gonna just see if the eye can work on that a little bit. I'm gonna introduce our next guest, Ras Sekou.
Ras Tafari, give thanks, Raskwasi, and greetings, man.
I'm struggling to hear who is talking right now.
Yes, Ras Tau. It is Iman Ras Tau. It's Rasipo. Can you hear me, Ras Tau? Ras Tafari, greetings, Papa Sekou Tafari, Mama Zoe, Hotep, Empress Hotep, Raskwasi. Give thanks for this platform and for this reasoning timely during Rastafari month. We are humbled, Papa Tafari, that Rastafari Speaks was able to inspire many Rastafari youth in the late 90s. And even your connection with Azania, it will be vital in this reasoning to can look at what are the solutions, Give thanks, Rastautau, also for being in this platform, and Sister Mimi also, Rastafari.
Give thanks, and I'm actually glad that all of the items know each other, so we can have a real family meeting. I didn't know that family. I didn't know that they all work so closely and know each other. But that is Rastafari, the frontline soldiers. You meet up on the battlefield. So I love that. So we're gonna have a very lively reasoning. And I think we could start with the Ras Sekou, in terms of framing the discussion around, what is in the West, we're seeing images of South African black people, chasing their brothers from, around, beating their brothers. We're seeing all of this imagery. And the foundation of the Pan-African vision for Africa is a united Africa. So from a diaspora perspective, we're looking at this as we want the freedom to be able to travel without fear of borders through the entire African continent. So when we're being flooded with this imagery of black people attacking other black people who, for immigration, saying that they're taking their jobs and all of these things, it really is disheartening for black people in the West who want to come home to see these things. But I want the eye to just frame this discussion in terms of, from a South African perspective, what is happening currently? What is the challenge on the ground in South Africa?
Raskwazi, if we look at the challenges of exodus or the movement of our people in the continent and globally, it has been the crisis that we have ignored. And within the lens of Rastafari, we will use the word repatriation.
Yes.
But in this instance, we find the word deportation. But South Africa has a very classic history of fragmentation by the apartheid system. You will recall that even in 2001, when there was a global conference on racism, xenophobia, South Africa was still standing, But the question of the Pan-African Rastafari knowledge that I and I in this platform we know is that Rastafari is not against African brothers and sisters anywhere else, whether in Africa or in the African diaspora. But the images in the media, in some instances, are fake news, are old videos. Some of them is also the perpetuation that South Africans are xenophobic. I can tell you in 2008, there was the same issue that came up. But before that, even after 1994, the question of Azania, South Africa being integrated into the SADC region, into the OAU, AU now, the issue of cultural relations. South Africa is the only country in the African continent where you don't have refugee camps, meaning African nationals who are visiting or who have overstayed in South Africa, they are not staying in the refugee camps. They are within their communities. And that's where Raskwazi, I can say to you, the main challenge is, yes, on human and people's rights, compliance, the issues of police, corruption, the immigration and the migration, security system, continentally and globally, the failure of the neighboring countries within South Africa to fix their country in terms of governance has also impacted on what people will say it's an overburden of South Africa to where it is today after 1994. So the whole framework, it is also under the liberal capitalism and the elites. And the elites have framed these languages of Afrophobia, xenophobic, and black on black violence. Even human rights bodies cannot define what is really happening because they want to see it through the eyes of the media. Even reggae songs that we hear lately now from other African countries, they are a bit misguided. We are finding songs that end up criticizing what is happening in South Africa, but not knowing the context and the content of where I and we are, and globally, how have we dealt with the issue of people's movement? Give thanks.
Give thanks, give thanks. Serious sound. Ras Sekou, do you have anything to say about what the brethren just block?
Yes, Rasifo he basically addressed the situation very candidly, in my mind. And basically, we look at the whole situation from a historical perspective, and we know how the ball was dropped in 1994 with the so-called breakdown and coming into the political office of the ANC under President Mandela. Because basically what is taking place in my mind is a fallout of not dealing with the situation in terms of the political situation as it relates to the masses of African people, Black people, South African people, there on the ground in South Africa, Azania. One of the things in terms of what I gather, listening to Brother C4 Rasifo, is the reality that the people there need to deal with the economic situation. It's basically economic situation, but it also has to come from the ground. This whole situation of the division is coming from the top, and those in office, political office, is failing to deal with that problem that is existing, and that is something we need to hammer out today in terms of as Rastafari people, as African people, we need to hammer that out, because division could only work for the enemies of Africa and the enemies of Rastafari. Yes, so full joy, and think he give us enough for us to build on as well. Give thanks.
Give thanks, give thanks. I'm gonna come to the eye, Sister Zokawe, to hear what the eye have to say about the situation, just generally as a framework. Sister Mimi, I see the eye. I'll let the eye get set up, and then we'll bring the eye forward. Welcome to our royal Sister Mimi is here. But let's hear from our sister. How do you see this situation? Hold on 1 second. Let me unmute the eye. Go ahead.
Rastafari.
Yes, I.
My brother, as a child who grew up in South Africa under apartheid system, and also for me, this is repeating itself.
Okay.
1976, it was Bakas and Xhosas. 80s, it was Zulus and Xhosas. And for me, this is a political thing that it's about power. It's not about us, you know? Because I would say, my brother, in South Africa, there's a lot of unemployment young people who are very angry, you know? And there are people who can manipulate these young people, you know, because they want to achieve their gains. That's why you see all these people who are marching here in South Africa are people, most of them, who are frustrated because our government it doesn't care about us. You know, our children, they've never thought about empowerment to empower themselves. They go and finish grade 12s, and then they go and work for European companies, and that's all they know. That's all they know. And you find that even the monies that they are getting, the wages that they are getting, it's not enough for their education. We've been struggling in South Africa even before 94. Even after 94, we've been struggling in South Africa, especially ordinary people from the ground. You know, there are many people who are suffering now because of this. Our brothers in Africa have left South Africa, and our grannies are struggling to rent their houses. They are struggling to rent their shops, you know, because people who knows what they want to achieve, they use people who are suffering. That is why even you find some people now, they regret joining these marches because they see the suffering, because the suffering is in the township, my brother. Okay. It's not with those people who are up there. It's in our townships. The drugs that we are facing with, even long time. I was born 1966. You know, I grew up seeing my elders doing drugs. It's not a new, it's an African thing, you know. Yes. All over Africa, Africa is destroyed with drugs. Africa is destroyed with alcohol. You know, Africa, they oppress us by not giving our youths work. They are not empowering our youths, you know. When they do things, it's when they wanted their votes, and then they are going to do things, and then it ends there. Within 3 months, that thing is finished. My voice is for those people that I'm with in the township that are suffering with me. Yes, and I would say to you, not all those people, they are against what is happening in South Africa because they lost any trust from their government. They depend on these African brothers who came and boosted them in our communities. They built houses because of these brothers. These brothers help them to build houses in a minimum money that they can afford. So for me, I'm not taking on a political side. I'm not a politician. I've been oppressed just like those people. Even the people that they are chasing is the people who ran from their countries because they wanted green pastures, and they thought when they are in South Africa they will do better. And some of them, they employ our youths. They employ our youths. The people that the South Africa must face is our government, who is neglecting us, who has been neglecting us. It is our government. I will join if we can all go there in Parliament and sit down and demand them to listen to us. Go to Home Affairs and demand them to stop the corruption. Because some brothers, if I tell you, my brother, some families, they go to Home Affairs to renew their papers, and they will tell them to go back. When they come back again, they ask them to pay them amounts of 15,000, 10,000. Where are they going to get that amount of money? Let's face the truth. Our government is corrupt. That is why our people are suffering. And we have people who are manipulating our people who are hungry. Bring them to the streets because they want votes. They want people to follow them. Yes, I hear Ras Mandula about the media, social media. I hear, and that is true what he's talking. The media is also playing a big role, But let's face the truth. There are people who have been beaten by our brothers and sisters in South Africa. There are South Africans who have been beaten because they are pitch black in color. So we need to face the reality. What is happening in South Africa, not all Rastafari, like brothers and sisters are talking this. No. Yes, there are Rastas. I won't lie. There are Rastas who are against our brothers who are here in South Africa. There are also some Rastas that were chanting repatriation, but now they are taking something else. But I must tell the world that not all South Africans are against our African brothers and sisters. We know our history. We know our struggle. We know the instigator of all this, but we're playing politics. We know who is doing this. 1969 in Ghana, this happened. 1983 in Nigeria, this happened. And I believe Rastafari community are the only people who can unite the people of the world. We are the only people who are talking about righteousness, about repatriation, about Africa for Africans. We must find a way to engage with our government. We cannot go on social media and say, let them go as Rasta, and you still call yourself as a Rasta. We have power, to come and talk with the presidents. We have power to talk with all these presidents in Africa. I remember, my brother, before I take your time, when I was in RUF with
Come
Thau.
in the middle of the frame. Come in the middle of the frame because you're coming out of the
Rastafari.
frame. You want to see
Rastafari.
the shining.
Rastafari.
You're heating up, mama. You're heating up. Go ahead.
I remember, my brother, when I was in RUF, our president, Thau Haramanuba, he sent us to the commissioner of Zimbabwe. There was a brother Manai from Jamaica who was caught there by the police because of a spliff, and his passport was expired. We went to the commissioner as women. We sat down with the commissioner, and the commissioner listened to us. And after I think after a month, Ras Manai was here in South Africa. He now stays in Swaziland. That is why I'm saying Rastafari community can be able to talk with the government, can be able to sit them down and let them see what they are doing to our people, our sufferers, not with violence. We are humble people. We are humans. Let's teach it. Let's pray, let's have respect for each other as humans, and let's not pretend as if we don't know what is happening, who is doing this amongst black people. We cannot. You know, now we are pretending. We know the truth. The other day I said I'm sorry to say that we have white South Africans who doesn't have papers in South Africa, and nobody is going after them. It's blacks going after blacks, you know. And I believe that if we can go to Home Affairs, you know, and sit them down, we will see so many things that are happening in South Africa. We will see that our black people are being oppressed even by their own leaders, the leaders that we fought for. You know, we have brothers who are not here in South Africa that we don't know even today where they went, who fought for this liberation. But us ordinary people, we don't see what we fought for. I, for one, I didn't fight for equal rights. I fought for my country. I fought for my land. I fought to own a land in my ancestors' country, in my ancestors' land. And the politics changed everything. And those politicians, they don't consider people who are fighting for their land. They consider their politics. So this is a political thing, my brother. It's got nothing to do with ordinary people. No. These people are pushing their agenda. And they are using people. They know that people are hungry. People are struggling. Some are not working. You see? That's how I see, my brother.
Yes. And this is why, as Rastafari, the economic push, I think we have to stop looking for government to give us jobs. We have to return to the land. You know, I mean, agriculture. There's no culture without agriculture. We have to introduce an ITAL standard for the world, plant our food, create our products, our refining, finished goods, and be able to employ our young people, because that is, as you say, the economic situation is one of the main issue. I'm going to come to Sister Mimi shortly, but I want to go to the Field Marshal. But before I do that, Ras Sekou, does the I have anything that I want to say to based on what the sister say? Yes. Go ahead, Ras Sekou. We're not seeing the eye, Ras Sekou, or hearing the eye. Ras Sekou, you may have to exit and return. You may have to exit and return, Ras Sekou.
Returns?
Yes, we hear the eye.
Returns?
Yes, Isis. Exit and return, my elder. While we sort out Ras Sekou, I'm going to ask the Field Marshal Ras Thau to just give his sound on this, you know, framing. We're framing the issue, Ras Thau. So give us your framing of what's going on in South Africa as it relates to this issue.
Give thanks, Jasmas. Am I audible?
Yes, we hear in the eye.
All right, give thanks. First and foremost, I think the theme of this reasoning is a little bit problematic.
Okay.
One, has South Africa rejected the Pan-African struggle?
Yes.
Has Black South Africa rejected the Pan-African struggle? So this caption, it presupposes that all South Africans are into the anti-illegal immigrants struggle.
Yes.
Which is not true. You have organizations like the Economic Freedom Fighters under Julius Malema, which encourages that Africans should find the most creative way to enter this country, even if it means undermining the immigration laws of this country. He's being very loud about it. He has held several press conferences claiming that he does not want votes of xenophobic people.
Yes.
He's to be fighting for illegal immigration or fighting for Africans to enter the country, albeit that our borders are 25% functional, 75% dysfunctional. We're having porous borders. That is why in South Africa you get members of terrorist groups like Al-Shabaab, Boko Haram. You have criminals all over from all over the world. A Zimbabwean man who killed his wife and two children in the UK was just arrested yesterday here in South Africa because everybody comes to South Africa. Basically say when they talk about borderless Africa, it's not about borderless Africa, it's about borderless South Africa. Probably if South Africa borderless and lawless country, we have more than 6 million undocumented Africans. 90% of them are engaged in criminal activities, 26,000 of them are in. And then the second problematic part of it is the assumption that what is going on here in South Africa pre the anti-immigration struggle with Pan-Africanism, where you have 53 African countries assembled in Africa, engage in all sort of criminality, drug dealing, human trafficking, marrying South African women for citizenship to access privileges that comes with South African citizenships like free healthcare, free housing, and then using South African passports to go to other parts of the world and commit crimes, like the 42 Africans who were arrested at Ireland using South African passports while they are Nigerians. And then the third problematic part is exploring claims of xenophobia in South Africa, a South African Ras Tafari perspective. This is assuming that there is xenophobia. Actually, the elites, the political class, the social elites, the intellectuals have framed this situation in South Africa as xenophobia. Now it has graduated to Afrophobia. And then the social movements and civil society movements that are engaged in highlighting this issue of illegal immigration are referred to as vigilantes. And you have two Pan-African megaphones, PLO Lumumba calling for South Africa to be sanctioned, and then Dr. Arikana Chiomboso saying South African companies should be kicked out of all African countries. So there is no xenophobia. There is no Afrophobia. What is happening now is an African solution to an African problem. Now, usually when these things are happening, we are quickly reminded that the white men still control a chunk of your land. Therefore, we are justified to come into your country and sell drugs, commit all type of fraudulent activities. People enter this country with a student visa. They end up being businessmen selling drugs and selling all type of illicit goods. There is immigration law that to open a business in South Africa, you must have 6 million rand investment. Now, we are also told about a small little enclave of less than 50 white Afrikaners or Boers who are there with the statue of the architect of apartheid, the apartheid flag, and the statue of the founder of that community called Orania. Now, the problem is that Orania is not selling drugs in our communities. Orania is not engaged in human trafficking. Orania is not marrying South African women in order to attain South African citizenship, where you have a Nigerian brother who marry a woman in the Western Cape, impregnate her, have 4 children, and then leave, go to another province, do the same thing, and go to another province and do the same thing until they decide to go to other greener pastures of criminality. So what you are having, the assumption is that this whole assemblage of Africans in South Africa is itself Pan-Africanism. Now, Pan-Africanism can't be built on illegality, criminality, and corruption. Now, where is this illegality coming from? In 1964, the OAU summit that sat in Cairo in the presence of His Majesty Haile Selassie, our Rasta God, in the presence of Kwame Nkrumah, the greatest Pan-Africanist, in the presence of the likes of Sekou Toure, one of the revolutionaries, they took a resolution that they are going to maintain colonial borders. Before that, His Majesty, together with Jan Smuts from South Africa, they were the co-creators of the preamble of the United Nations. Now, United Nations have 7 principles to recognize a country as a sovereign state. It must have defined borders, it must have permanent population, it must have the army and so forth. So our Pan-Africanists, they talk about borderless Africa, but in fact they are talking about borderless South Africa, because no other African country is removing its borders. What you are having, actually, you are having all African countries are enforcing their immigration law. They're enforcing their visa regime. I've been to Ghana twice. I paid the most expensive visa in the continent, $150 to enter Ghana twice, 2018 and 2019. I've been to Ethiopia from 2003 until 2019. All the time I go to Ethiopia, I have to pay visa. Mind you, Ethiopia is the headquarters of Africa, but it is not easy for any African to enter Ethiopia. I was a student given a scholarship by Abuna Paulos, the late His Holiness Abuna Paulos, in 2004. Every year of my study there, I had to go to the immigration to go and renew my student visa and pay 1,000 rand or 1,000 birr to study, to renew my visa so that I can continue to study in Ethiopia. Now the question is, what is Pan-Africanism about? What is only expected of South Africa but not expected of any African country? Whereby all other African countries, they are safeguarding their borders, they are protecting their citizens from any illicit thing that can come through, they are protecting their borders from terrorists. Even the beloved Ibrahim Traore, he's fighting for the people of Burkina Faso, and they are creating the Sahel Alliance to fight against the jihadist terrorists. And they have immigration regulations. So every country have immigration regulations, except that South Africa is not expected to do that. And should it do that, it is called xenophobic. Now, Africans deporting other Africans, it started with the first Pan-African state, Ghana, 1969, under Busia. And it went on to Uganda, 1972, Idi Amin deporting about 800,000 Indians for economic reasons, that they are taking jobs that belongs to the Ugandans. You had Equatorial Guinea, you had Zimbabwe after independence, 2 years after independence, it deported the Zambians, Malawians, and Mozambicans and called them Mabrandaya. You had Nigeria, 1983, it deported the Ghanaians, who deported them in 1969, and then they had this kind of back with, you get it all around South Africa. It is called Ghana Must Go, because they were carrying their belongings with that bag. You had several countries until even this year. It was not only South Africa which was deporting illegal immigrants. Rwanda did it, Uganda did it. But when it is done by South Africa, it is called xenophobia. And all these other 15 incidents that happened in 15 different African countries from 1969 until this year, none of them are defined as xenophobia. So there is something very wrong about it. The only difference is that in South Africa, it is the citizens who are enforcing and who are fighting their government to enforce the immigration law, to enforce their borders, to protect them, because all type of criminals, from ordinary people on the street to pastors. You have 3 criminal pastors: Pastor Chris from Nigeria, Pastor Hubert Angel from Zimbabwe, Pastor Bushiri from Malawi, who are charged with criminal activities in different countries. Today they say they are having prophecy and prophesying against South Africa. That South Africa, because it is deporting undocumented Africans and illegal immigrants, there's something wrong is going to happen to them. Pastor Chris is a Nigerian. He cannot even have a prophecy about Boko Haram going to abduct 53 toddlers, Boko Haram abducting 300 girls, selling them to slavery. You have Libya having slave markets where they are selling Africans openly. You have a civil war going on in Sudan now. You have a genocide going on in the Congo as we speak. You have a disputed elections in Tanzania where the locals were killed by Chama Chama Pinduzi, the ruling party of Tanzania. You had Kenyans last year were revolting against some tax rule that was imposed on them, and the government had to shoot some of them. None of these are referred to as Afrophobia, that an African government is killing African citizens. So if you have the whole continent banging up against one country and expecting that borderless Africa should only mean borderless South Africa, where we're having a program in South Africa every Sunday on Mojav, dedicated to Nigerians who are selling drugs and who are busted every week, and which we are sure that the Nigerian embassy in Pretoria, they have TV, or they're exposed to South African TV, and they see their citizens every week without fail being busted for selling drugs in South Africa. Yet they are silent about it, but they are only loud about this so-called xenophobia. Then it says to you that there is a propaganda. Now, propaganda is the art of selling falsehood. Now, this propaganda that is being peddled is peddled even by so-called Pan-Africanists. I refer to them as pseudo-Pan-Africanists because I was a soldier during the liberation struggle for the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania, the PAC. And we were taught about a liberated Azania, how it looked like, but nothing like what is going on now. We were taught we were told that criminality is not allowed in the ranks of the PAC. We had ANC and PAC had their own prisons in their own camps to imprison their own comrades who commit crimes against the citizens of those countries that hosted us. Then you have this narrative that we liberated you. So did you liberate South Africa so that you can sell drugs in South Africa? So that we can have 337 South African women arrested in Brazil, in some part of Latin America and in Asia as drug mules of Nigerians? Did you help to liberate South Africa so that South Africa should become a crime scene that is divided into spheres of criminal activity? Like if you go to Hillbrow, there's one section of Hillbrow is run by the Yoruba, the other section is run by Igbo as their own drug thefts. Did you liberate South Africa so that you have Zimbabweans stealing cables, traffic lights cables, house cables like my own house? What really got me involved, as Mama Zoliswa said, that as a president of the RUF, I organized anti-xenophobia march in 2018. Empress Marina Blake contributed to that march. We had a big reasoning on the RCC platform, and I was charged with the responsibility to organize an anti-xenophobia march. During the anti-xenophobia march, I met with the African Diaspora Forum, which is an organization that then represented the 44 African countries that are living in Newville, to mobilize them that we should march. I only marched with 30 Ras Tafari. All these Africans were marching for, they were looking at us and laughing at us as if we are crazy. On the other side, South African Rastafarians were criticizing us for that. After the march, I took them to the Ethiopian restaurant at GP Street in Johannesburg, and bought them injera because I had them from the morning until after lunch. I had to buy them some food because Empress Marina contributed some money to organize that march. And I was castigated by my same Rastafari community that I'm buying them to march and to protect foreigners. Today, I'm on the other side of the debate. I look deep into the issues that South Africans are raising. They're legitimate. South Africans are not xenophobic. South Africans are not Afrophobic. South Africans are not vigilantes. These are civil society organizations and movement. Then again, let's look at what causes the influx of Africans in one country, in South Africa. It's corrupt governments that they are running away from. It's poor management. Now, you can't turn South Africa into a big refugee camp for failed African states and call it Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism, it doesn't mean all countries uniting in one country. It means all countries coming together to form one super country called Africa. Now, here you are having all countries trying to unite in one country, and what drove them to South Africa is not Pan-African ideals. Is the assumption that South Africans are lazy, is the assumption that South Africans are stupid, which they vocalize them, they are very loud about it, is the assumption that South Africans are brainwashed, is assumptions that South Africans, they still have large part of their land owned by white people. Now, white peoples are not black South Africans' problem. White people are a problem of black people, yellow people, and brown people. That is why the brown people of Iran are busy dealing with that white problem called America, which is the first ideological white supremacy state in the world, which is trying to bully the world and to bully the non-whites, and Iran is giving them run for their own money. So the problem of white people is not the problem of the anti-immigrants, anti-illegal immigrants, marchers who are marching. Every time when they are march, they are told that, what about white people? What about Orania? So to show that our African brothers and sisters who are in South Africa, they were not driven by Pan-African ideals or motivated by Pan-Africanism when they come here. It is parasitism, is scavenger Pan-Africanism, is parasitic Pan-Africanism. It is economic survival of their own. Somebody come in, there are about 6,000 Nigerians who came in here with student visas, and none of them have ever gone to school. They are opening businesses which are fronts for drug dealing. Now, if we're not going to be objective, we're going to have this blanket approach to South Africa and paint all South Africans as guilty. As you are well aware yourself, when you brought me and Ras Sekou here, you know that we're going to speak for anti-illegal, we are going to speak for anti-illegal immigration narratives. And when you brought my sisters here, you know that they're going to speak for pro-illegal immigration in the name of African unity. So you already know that South Africa itself is divided on this issue. So to say South African blacks have rejected Pan-Africanism is disingenuous and dishonest, because not all South Africans are anti-illegal immigrants. There are a lot of South Africans who are pro-illegal immigrants, who are advocating for them, like Julius Malema, like his organization, the EFF, like the intellectuals, like the privileged groups, and people who are sleeping with them, people who are giving them citizenship through all means, like the corrupt Home Affairs Department, and people who allow them to pass in through the border by putting 100 rand in their passport, and then they come into the country. One of the greatest reggae musician in this country is Lucky Dube. He was killed by illegal immigrants from Zimbabwe. They can't be traced, and so forth, from Mozambique, I mean to say. So now the honest conversation will be, one, to look at the situation holistically and not to join the bandwagon that is just trying to paint all South Africans as xenophobic. Because my two sisters here, I don't think are xenophobic. Maybe me and Ras Sekou might be termed xenophobic because we try to be critical,
self-critical, reflective, and constructive in looking at the issues of the masses, and not paint the masses as xenophobic, but looking at what are they fighting for. Is it not genuine? Because these are people who are fighting for economic benefits. Amilcar Cabral said, people are not fighting for ideas that are in someone's head. The people are fighting for bread and butter issues. And here you have South Africans who are fighting for bread and butter issues who are being mocked. Like when they highlight issues of spaza shops and local economy, Julius Malema must tell them that you're fighting for little things, go and fight for mines. It's not everybody who's capable of owning the mine, including himself as a millionaire. He still can't own a mine. So people choose what they want to fight for as part of their survival, and there is no morality when it comes to survival. That is why you are having a lot of people who are coming here illegally for their survival. Now, it is problematic that the countries they left with they use the passport. There is a lot, they were given 30 days to leave their country. And when they enter South Africa here, they enter with a student visa, which they end up not being student, they become business person, drug dealers, and so forth. Now, their countries are not asking, why is this person who said they are leaving for 30 days is not coming back? They're not making any follow-up, because these are corrupt governments which find it necessary to have less of problem in their countries and have all problems going to one country called South Africa. Now, the most Pan-Africanist thing I've heard, I'm not a member of any political party. I'm not a member of March and March. I'm not a member of Insizwa Novo Insizwa. I'm not a member of any of these more than 30 civil society organizations that are protesting against anti-illegal immigrants. I belong to several Rastafari organizations, Rastafari Continental Council, which I'm a deputy chairperson, Rastafari Nation Council, which I'm deputy president, Rastafari United Front, which I'm the president, Bake Hase, which I'm is the grandmaster, and my own institute called Bantu Soul Society. I don't hold no brief for anyone. So without being a member of all these groups, I looked deep into what they are highlighting. And majority of their marches, they are marching to their own government. They have marched to the union building, they have marched to Home Affairs, they have marched to police station, asking them to enforce the immigration laws. And where they are going to undocumented Africans, they go with police, because none of them is qualified to determine whether you are documented or not. Now, to then say these people are xenophobic because they contradict your own version of Pan-Africanism, which is supposed to be built on or based on criminality, illegality, and corruption, it becomes problems. So there are Africans who comes in there, they are guilty, and the Africans of South Africa are guilty. Which are the guilty ones of South Africa? In a society which is divided in classes, in South Africa, we have the have little, and they have not. The have little is what we call the middle class, which are caught up in the middle and are split between the people and the have. Now, majority of the middle class are employing undocumented Africans on the basis of cheap labor. The political class, the former Speaker of Parliament, Baleka Mbete, and the former Deputy President, Baleka Mbete, employ 134 undocumented Africans in her farm. The former Secretary General of the ANC, Isma Hashulu, employ 94 illegal immigrants. Our president is currently in trouble with his money under the sofa because the illegal immigrants he employed in his farm stole his money, and some of them were caught in Namibia. So the middle class, when they speak for illegal immigration in the name of Pan-Africanism, they are speaking from self-interest point of view, because majority of them are employing these Africans who are running away from their corrupt government, from their repressive government, from their dystopian regimes. They're employing them on cheap labor basis. So these Africans who come here, they're not driven by Pan-Africanism. And these Africans who employ them, they are not employing them driven by Pan-Africanism. They're employing them driven by cheap labor exploitation. So I don't see no Pan-African struggle here being waged, or that in anything that is happening in South Africa can be characterized into a Pan-African struggle that you can say Black South Africans has rejected Pan-African struggle. Unless you're telling me that the Pan-Africanism, which I was a member of the PAC, Pan-African Congress of Azania, and its military wing, unless you're telling me that when we fought for a liberated South Africa, we wanted it to be a borderless country, a criminal-free zone, a drug-free country, a human trafficking country, a cable-stealing country, a infrastructure-destroying country, people connecting to our electric grid illegally. We're having cities in South Africa that are occupied by, like Johannesburg, is occupied, 90% of Johannesburg is occupied by illegal immigrants. We're having hijacked buildings. If you tell me that these activities here form part of African unity and Pan-Africanism, I'm willing to denounce Pan-Africanism and Rastafari, because there are also some Rastafari who are protecting this. Actually, I'm speaking from the African trilectic: Rastafari, Pan-Africanism, and even African spirituality. That African spirituality does not promote criminality. Ubuntu does not promote criminality. Rastafari does not promote criminality. His Majesty, when he gave Shashamane, he put rules. He said they are looking for repatriates who are going to contribute to the development of Ethiopia, not people who will be roaming around streets of Ethiopia without knowing what they're doing. Marcus Garvey said, my aim is not to take all black people to Africa because some of you are useless here and you're going to be useless there. So Marcus Garvey, his repatriation program was also conditional, premised on usefulness. How are you going to contribute positively to African development? Now, all these Africans who are here, none of them are known to have established any Pan-African program of action. There is none. And they are the same people, when they are told about their criminal activity, they start to say, hey, you are ruled by the white men. And you ask that, what were you doing for 30 years in South Africa to help us fight the white men? You're only here to tell us that we are ruled by the white men. So therefore, since the white man has taken our land, so you have the right to take also our RDP houses, to build informal settlements. Now we are told about Orania. Orania is one piece of land with less than 60 white people who are apartheid nostalgic, who are not selling drugs in our community, who are not trafficking our women, who are not marrying our women fraudulently in order to have our citizenship, who are not breaking the laws of this country. They just want to preserve their own apartheid white culture. Yet you have a lot of 100% informal settlement made up of Zimbabweans who don't allow South Africans to enter there. Places like Koster is owned by the Somalians. They don't allow the Xhosas of Eastern Cape, of PE, to go to Koster. You have Bellevue. The Somalis were chasing the Xhosa people of Cape Town were in Bellevue for selling that this is their own. Where an issue 2 weeks back at Mayfair in Johannesburg, the Somalis were chasing black South Africans from there. What is Pan-African about this? School me, failure to do that. Don't consider me a Pan-Africanist. Neither should you consider me a Rastafari. Give thanks.
This is why we call this panel, because we wanted to get all of the sides of this discussion. And just to address the thumbnail for this, the title, just for those who don't know, the titles don't reflect Ayman's view on a topic. These are sounds that are out there percolating in the ecosystem. The thumbnail is designed to get people to watch. So the questions that we ask on the thumbnail of this or the flyer were, has Black South Africa rejected the Pan-African struggle? This was a question. Exploring claims of xenophobia in South Africa. So we're not saying that that xenophobia is in South Africa. We're saying there are claims. We're exploring whether this is true. And we wanted a South African Rastafari perspective. I love this reasoning because everything has nuance to it. Nothing is just straight. And Thau Field Marshal has raised a very key angle to this, which is rules and regulation. You know, we know Haile Selassie was also very orderly, you know, in terms of what does the Pan-African continent look like. And these are the things that we have not taken a lot of time to explore and to discuss. So now when we have a situation where people are flooding in, you're gonna get the criminals coming in with the flood. We're gonna get, you know, the downside. The question that I would ask is there a process for sorting out those who come, who are genuinely coming to do good, who may have overstayed their welcome? A lot of our Rastafari elders would fall into that category, who went to South Africa and stayed from the Caribbean, from other regions. Is there a process where ones are distinguishing between those and the criminals? Because criminality, I don't think, is supported by any Rastafari, and it has to be eradicated, and we can minimize that as well. So we just want to be clear. When we call these reasonings, it's not the Chasmach Kwasi personal position here. This is why I wanted Rastafari, from born and raised in South Africa, to reason so that we could educate the global family from a Rastafari perspective. So when we're talking about these topics, we can have that nuance within the reasoning. We can sort it out. We can have that fire reasoning amongst each other, and we can come to a fullness. Ras Sekou, are you there?
I'm here. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing the eye now, but we're not seeing the eye. But what did the eye have to say about what Field Marshal Thau has said?
I in total agreement with what our dear brother Ras Tau had to say, because he raised some serious issues that I don't think a lot of us have paid attention to. And because we are so far away, we do not know the reality of what is taking place on the ground there. And these are some of the basic functions that we have to realize, that those people on the ground has to deal with the reality of all the illegality, all the border crossing, all the question of the example that he made in relation to the killing by Mozambique citizens of our dear brother Lucky Dubé, and so on. So these are some of the realities we have to hammer out in order to come to a serious conclusion. And reality, as you pointed out, we are not drawing assumptions based on one against the other.
No.
But we are here to find solutions to the problem of Rastafari and Pan-Africanism. So I'm really satisfied with the presentation of our dear brother Ras Tau. Give thanks.
Yes. Sister Mimi, are you ready here, Sister Mimi? And
yes,
welcome.
I am. Rastafari greeting.
I know you're on the move. I don't know how much you have heard. We're talking about this issue of what's happening in South Africa with the immigration. And we're gonna have some pushback too, because I'm reading the comments, I'm seeing the item comments. So we're gonna have some pushback on what Field Marshal Thau and give him an opportunity to respond as to why, you know, the white Boers and certain things are not getting the same attention. We're gonna allow everyone to address the pushback as well, because it's a fire reasoning, it's a family reasoning. We are Rastafari here. We are all Pan-African, so we are going to suss out the nuance of this matter. Ras C4 also, we're going to want to hear the I response shortly as well. So, Sister Mimi, talk to us about this matter, please.
Hail Rastafari, greetings, family. Give thanks even for the opportunity, you know. I had to grab this opportunity when Raskwasi approached myself. I
Raskwasi?
even know.
Raskwasi?
Yes, Am
Yes,
I audible enough?
You can see me. You can see me now.
No, I'm not seeing the Ras Sekou. You might have to leave and come back in again.
Okay, all right.
For the camera. All right. Sorry about that, Sister Mimi. Continue.
I'm saying I got the some part of Rasipo's reasoning and Mama Zo's reasoning. Unfortunately, I didn't hear Ras Tau. But from where I'm standing as Rastafari daughter and being a Pan-Africanist as well, you know, I will like to block the sound regarding a way forward or solutions that I see as the core or the most important thing based on what I was catching when the items was reasoning, right? Because I'm not gonna say anything new. I think the two speakers that I heard, they have said enough. And also I know some of the concept of Ras Tau from how he has been expressing himself towards all these things that are taking place. So I would just like to come with a way forward, Raskwasi, because I'm not going to repeat anything besides saying from where I'm standing, we have been chanting Africa for the Africans, those at home and those abroad. Unfortunately, our countries have been colonized, so that is divide and rule set up altogether. We need to support the leadership of that brother is Tore, or how do you spell his name? The other one, another mother, she's also a president. She's also pushing very well. So my say or my input is that the people who are present now, Ras Tau, Mama Zo, and Rasipo, we need to take the stand of protecting the principles of His Imperial Majesty and our vision of repatriation, because we're chanting this, and we need to approach the government like Mama Zo says. That is what I'm saying now. I want to come with a way forward so that we can address this and protect our own African brothers and the elders that we know they must come home. Those who wants to come to South Africa, let's take a lead. Let's have our own separate meetings as Raskwasi, through the powers of the Most High, that he came with this idea of inviting I9 to come and reason about this. But my meditation about from the deliberations or engagements that I have heard is that let's approach our government. Let's have the way that we can reason and address this so that we can push the repatriation issue with reparations, and we can have the way of vetting ourselves as a community, you know, because the government through Jacob Zuma, they have acknowledged the 6th region. It is still there in black and white. So those are the references that you can use to say, let those who are coming to come with a skill or come with a profession or being an elder, you know, but if you want to come to repatriate, because it's going to assist many and it's going to be legal way of doing things, because it is not nice to see a Rasta saying, let the people go, even the Rastafariites, let them go to Jamaica and things like that. No, it's contradiction, miss. It's a pure contradiction. So I would just like to say that few, putting out on a platform to say the mother, Advocate Sipo, Ras Tau, are the items ready for us to take? I know we've been not reasoning a lot, but we are moving. We are active citizens of the country, and we are active Rastafari community members and also leaders. You know, we are all good in our own industries. Mama Zoe can talk about the music. She can use her talent to be part of the campaign, whatever that we can use. Rasipo, legal part and perspective as a human rights activist as well. Ras Tau has been there also. We know all our roles and the influence that we are having, and the background that we are having with these also political leaders and so on, because they're the ones who are making all this mess, because it's their fault, as the items were saying, that our borders have been loose. It's so painful that when I must go to Botswana, there's a lot that they want. for the fact that I need even to know the specific address, physical address of where I'm going. Otherwise, I'm not entering their country. So we're gonna hold our government accountable to say the likes of those Rastafari, Idrins, mothers, and whoever that are cooperative, who we can approach and reason with. We can say, this is our stand as Rastafari collective. We want to protect you, because I think the likes of Ras Aibo is messy about that. I got disturbed. I don't know, like I was saying, I don't know how comfortable is Ras. Who else I can make example with? And unfortunately, there's the elder called Tifo from Kwako. He was from Trinidad. He also transited. I think he was being planted. Thau. So I'm just saying that.
We're not hearing the eye. We're not hearing the eye. I'm not sure if your phone is ringing or what's happening.
Taken away as slaves, and now they see South Africa. Am I audible?
You're going in and out. So the last thing that you said, and I'm hearing a phone ringing. So I'm not sure where that phone is coming from. If that's coming from the eye side. I'm not hearing the eye anymore. We're working on it, family.
Can the eye hear me now?
Yes, I hear the eye now. No, you're not. We're not hearing the eye. If you're watching live, we have.
Isaac?
Yes, greetings. We're hearing the eye now. If you're watching live, we have Ras Tafari from South Africa here. Sister Mimi, go ahead.
Give thanks. I'm just saying that we are capable human beings that can correct the image that we have been portrayed as. Because I've been getting calls day in, day out. The elders are worried in Jamaica, and they are talking bitter things because that is what they see. But I said I'm not going to repeat what the other speakers have said in terms of the influence of the media and those who are behind this. But I'm saying let's do self-introspection, whereby we need to correct ourselves and our movement by having it can be a three-way communication or two-way communication. The Rastafari government and the government of whatever the collective way that we can do it, if it is Jamaica or the islands, Trinidad and Tobago, or if it includes just the six race. I don't know how can we phrase it, but what I'm saying is that it can be a three-way thing where it's the government from abroad with a specific area that we can identify where we can start, and South African government and Rastafari leadership, whereby we need to approach our government here and say, like myself, I saw the Office of Repatriation just now recently because these things are happening. But we have decades and decades and going to their home affairs, try to reason about Mama B, try to reason about whoever, and they were saying they don't do this thing, they don't know how to go about it. It was only in Putadichaba, in Koakwa, where we knew that the Home Affairs Department, they do have repatriation offices. But the Rastafari community, we have never really pursue having to knock on those doors and know what are they doing, so that we can find a way or forge a way of having our brothers and sisters and the Asians come into Africa, specifically in South Africa, where we are, where we can influence. So Raskwasi, I will just pause there, but to say that is my input in the whole conversation, what it has been said, and then the way forward. Because I think what we need to do is to rescue. Because what I see is that whatever that is happening in South Africa is influencing other countries, and very bad, very worse, the way it's happening, because of the influence of the media. So we need to correct that. I think our reasoning must now dwell more into how do we correct or reverse the whole misconception about us as South Africans, like we are not humans. We are just killing people or doing funny things, but it's more than what they see abroad or wherever way they are, So that is what I can say for now, and I will post it there. Give thanks.
Yes, give thanks. And I think, my concern with this whole reasoning is that the divide and rule policy that was implemented by the colonial powers, it always anchors itself on legitimate grievances among different peoples. And then it amplifies them, exaggerates them, and then uses them to keep the division going. So as Rastafari, I think we have to be very careful how we frame this reasoning, because I think while we recognize the importance of immigration laws, we also have to recognize as Rastafari, we have always said that if laws are not just, that I and I are going to not wait for those to be changed before we full up within our liberty. And if you check, if we wait for the governments to drop the borders, maybe we never get the vision of Africa that we want. So we can't be just anti-immigration or anti-movement, freedom of movement across the continent. There are going to be brave souls that have to break those barriers. If Bongo Time and those brethren, those elders never stayed in South Africa, overstayed their visa, maybe Rastafari wouldn't have gotten that spike at that time in terms of the knowledge transfer. I think one of the biggest issue, and I'm coming to the Ras Sekou, one of the biggest issue that I'm hearing, not just in South Africa, but throughout the Caribbean, and this is where I'm injecting my personal view. I think that as Rastafari, we talk about the government, going to the government too much, as if the government, which we all acknowledge is corrupt in all of these places, is going to give us our liberation and our freedom. And I think this is where we pop down every time, because we are not creating the economics that are necessary. Governments only respect strength, whether that be economic or whatever. You have to come to the table with leverage. I think we can come to the table with a moral argument, and that will touch the heart of a government, and then the government's going to do the right thing. And we have so much history to show that that's not the reality. When we study His Imperial Majesty, who I hail him as the Almighty without apology, he didn't just go to the League of Nations with a hope and a dream. Remember that he was building in Ethiopia a military force, army. There was armed resistance. There was, there was economics underpinning the Ethiopian revolution. And I think we forget that fact as Rastafari. I think we're very spiritually, we're on the right track spiritually, but I think socially we're very naive in our approach, which is why we haven't taken the time to develop internally. And one of the things that we now have to face is not international repatriation. That's part of it. But we now have to also face international Black integration. Because this is happening in Ghana with I coming home, where there's tension because of higher prices and, different, when you're mixing different people, different tradition, different history, different nations, as I saw someone in the comment section say, you're going to have friction. And we have not, as Rastafari, spent enough time saying, what does this look like for integration? Not repatriation is just coming home. How do we now integrate? So, Ras Sekou, I want to hear from the eye. You've heard everyone blocking their soul. Where do we go? Where do we go?
No, Papa Kwazi, I think what the Ites have said is mouthful, in the sense that they've connected the real struggles on the ground. But as you said, migration, integration, repatriation, it is what we have to look into. But the systems, and I think it's very vital that we look at how we interpret the laws that have to manage people's movement. South Africa reformed OAU to AU in Durban in July, when it was called African Union. And that's where we, as Sister Mimi was talking about the 6th region. So we have to look at the 6th region as the diaspora or living spora, how does it contribute to the African continent? But when you look at South Africa, you look at this carrying the burden of conflicts in Africa in terms of its support, and at the same time, there is domestic challenges. So for I and I, as the Rastafari community, as the man was saying, the issues of home affairs is paperwork that people enter as missionary visas. Tau spoke about abuse of the immigration laws and systems. But as I and I, Rastafari, how do we want to correct it? Is the right of return. How do we interpret it, the right of return? How do we interpret to overstand reparation that, as Sister Zoe was saying, Rastafarians experienced apartheid, not after 1994, even before. How do we interpret the reparations of those who went through? Now, you have these challenges that are facing the Rastafari community, and there is labeling that we don't grasp, that even the human rights laws in the country, they cannot look at putting government to account. As Raskwezi, you were saying that, how do you become part of the government that is anti the people? And that's where the role of Rastafari of playing foresight and oversight. And the issue of creating our narrative. The issue is that we cannot be candid and be very mild because of soft power diplomacy of what the West think about South Africa or Africa. Because remember that South Africa has been carrying this burden not only 30 years ago, even during apartheid. Apartheid was used as the cornerstone of destroying Africa and the Southern Hemisphere, what you call frontline states. And the power now of Rastafari in music, in the literature, in art, must be grounded with a reality that is from South Africa. You will understand that within Rastafari, you have Rastafari communities that have been talking about the SADC region, having relation with Rastas from Zimbabwe, Mozambique. RUF was built on those ideas of connecting the continent. The Nyayabingi, it is doing the same in South Africa, also trying to connect the region, sharing best practices on challenges that are facing Rastafari, like police harassment, the issue of land. Those are the bread and butter issues that affects Rastafari. But when we enter into the debates of xenophobia and Afrophobia, which are being misplaced, because I think when we look at the teachings of Emperor of 1963, 1964, on understanding the question of racial segregation and the discrimination, it is highlighting Angola, South Africa, and Mozambique as countries that were under bondage. But post-94, when we look on the narrative that was sold out, as Ras Sekou was saying that, but the post-94 of Mandela was swiftning, was diluting the liberation and the freedom, which is correct. That Rastafari community suffered also after 1994. The Rastafari community never got anything. The question that I see, Raskwazi, is that even if we want to raise the issue that South Africa must be isolated at the SADC region, must be isolated at the African Union, it won't make any sense. We need people-to-people relation, how communities relate. You have the migration report in South Africa of 2024. That only came out in 2024. It was commissioned in 2023 to come out, but it was only released in 2024. And the migration patterns also happen internally and externally. People move within the borders of this country also. The other factor that you see, people move from even beyond South Africa, other continents outside Africa. And that's where you find the issues of insecurity that creeps in. The last point, if you look at churches again, there was a recent report on how churches were used as a front of money laundering in South Africa again. So again, you don't paint all the churches, but we know also that the missionaries, when they came also, Ras Kwazi, they also came with the mindset of polluting the minds, but also stealing the wealth, which is the land. So most churches in apartheid South Africa owned land, by the way. And banks also, foreign banks. And thirdly, also foreign universities that also send students under the pretext of international student when they are handlers of the West. So in many African countries, immigration is linked with security, where you cannot play with personal security of your own citizens. That's where you find that the issue that Ras Tau raised earlier of people being arrested with South African passports somewhere, again, is the abuse of the system and the manipulation. But be that as it may, finally, Ras Kwazi, the role of Rastafari movement is to instill the human rights diplomacy of His Imperial Majesty based on the reality on the ground of where I and I come from, how I and I feel it where we are, and to avoid the misinformation and the disinformation and the vibe that comes with the issue that people don't even want to learn the culture, the history of the countries that they are visiting. So in South Africa, you have a relationship of a visitor and the host. And the visitor end up become the owner, and the host becomes the tenant. And that's where there becomes a friction. In universities in South Africa, you have that debate also of professors in universities who are occupying high level and undermine the locals, and there is no build-up, there is no mentorship. You go to the legal practice, it is the same. State-owned enterprise, you find the same question. That goes to labor. So you can see that for INI to overstand as Rastafari community, that the government is also not aligned in its laws, Raskwazi. And it is continental, it is globally. Even Europe struggles with immigration and the migration. Even the diaspora struggles with it. Even if they put strict laws, they are still struggling with it because there's a lot of things that are happening, and it is vital for the Rastafari community also to be aware and not to blow negativity when we have to debate these issues, to say, how do we correct it? What are the mechanisms of understanding that there are cultural exchange programs, there are youth exchange programs, but we have to do them within the laws of Babylon. But the laws of Babylon, for us to understand them, is to understand them and be able to amend and overthrow them. So you can't understand the laws of Babylon without being inside Babylon. That's the reality that as a Rastafari community we need to face, that we are under the laws of many African governments that have failed, that we have to correct. South Africa has been facing challenges that stems from Ghana saying they want to bring it back at the AU level, that South Africa must be removed. There was the debate also to bring South Africa because it has taken the case against Israel at the ICJ. So this fragmentation that we need to understand, it's a bigger one, like we are saying, it's political, it is not spiritual, it is not economical, it is capitalism, it is fundamentalism of racism at a right-wing level, and it ceases from the Americas. So the USA also becomes the fragment of Make America Great. You know, so that's where we are finding this problem. If I have to pause there, but to just mention that the Rastafari community has to always draw the wisdom of His Imperial Majesty with the reality that we are facing in the 21st century. Give thanks.
Give thanks, give thanks. Ras Sekou.
Yes, I'm here.
What do you have to
Are you
say
hearing me?
about? Yes, we're hearing and seeing there now.
Okay, give thanks.
Just comment on what you've heard so far.
Yes. This is a very intricate problem. It's not a fly by night. So there'll be no fly by night solutions for these problems. Listening to ones on the ground is so crucial in terms of being able to take what they are seeing from all the different angles, and we only could find solutions based on economic and political. We sometimes say, for the most part, that Rastafari should not be involved in the political arena. Well, I say that not that we shouldn't take part in the political arena, we shouldn't take part in the political, in terms of politics. But in terms of politics, Father, the High Majesty, has taught us that we need to be involved in some level of politics. We need to look at the whole question of diplomacy. How do we deal with some of these realities of illegalities? How do we deal with the question of people coming into the country on student visas, and then we come in getting and opening up businesses, and then the whole idea of whether or not they're selling drugs or whatever they may be selling. So we have to find practical solutions based on the reality on the ground. And the reality on the ground is, if we have fought and for against apartheid, we have fought for a new for sovereignty within the South African, the Azania space. We need to find solutions that could create employment, could create employment within the borders of South Africa. And we therefore have to find a way how we can deal with that reality of immigration. Because every country in the world has immigration. But one of the things I could see with South Africa is this. South Africa, under the apartheid system, was still one of the most developed countries. So even now, after 1994, a lot of people still think that South Africa is still a developed country. When I look at the GDP on the African continent, between the 53, 54 states, I still see a run between South Africa and Nigeria. Sometimes South Africa is ahead, sometimes Nigeria is ahead. But how do we find solutions? One of the biggest mistakes I could see there is that the country, the land of South Africa is still 85% of the land in South Africa is still owned by the minority race. And that is a situation that has to be solved. How do we solve that problem? How do the people of South Africa, how do the people of Azania solve that problem? Because solving that problem could also mean creating employment for the masses of people, the masses of young people there in South Africa, by creating employment. So you have, one of the things I would suggest is the nationalizing of the land, the nationalizing of the resources, the creation of cooperatives, the infusion of equipment and so on, given, or whether it's in a loan form from the government, and so on, so that the people, young people especially, could create cooperatives, could own the land, or work the land and produce food, could create industries, whether it's agro industries, etc. So we have to find solutions. We call it The answer is not in the problems. The answer is in the solution. Give thanks.
Give thanks, give thanks. I'm coming to the eye, Mama, Zokawe. But one of the things I want to say to the global family is that how do we look going to a government or going to people who have, been co-opted by the oppressive colonial regime, and these people who put us in the position that we are, how do we go asking them to repair what they have done and they have the knowledge that we can't even employ our own children? Are these people motivated to give us any assistance? And this is my problem with my people, is that we, and I see in the line, and let me big up the comment section. We have the greatest comment section on the whole internet. I'm going to be clear with that. I think it's clear. Big up everyone watching live. If you're not watching live, you need to catch these live because the comment section, top tier. But one of the things I want to say is we have not spent time as Rastafari family building our economics. Our children are leaving the movement because we cannot employ them. They go out in Babylon when they need to get work. We have land. I see people saying that we need land. We have Rastafari own land. These lands are not being used productively or to generate the economics and the industry required. So we're not going to be respected until we have a strong economic force. There's no war that is fought without economics. Field Marshal Thau can tell you that, weapons, bullets, all of those things have a cost, even if you're fighting a physical war. Spiritual war, you need to have the space to be able to pray and food put down and things like that. So any kind of war, there's an economic component. They don't care what kind of war. And I think we have been trying to fight this war with zeal alone, and we've not put the things in place that will allow us to be that voice that can exert that kind of leverage. Because this united continent is not going to happen without I and I setting the example. How can we set the example? By building the institution that can sustain this repatriation without having our cooperative economics in place. These are the questions I'm asking the global family as we have these reasonings, because we have to hold ourselves accountable. Mama, please, what do you have to say? Field Marshal Thau raised some excellent points. The I raised some points. How do we deal with this issue of integration? Because we're evolving as Rastafari from just the slogans and the words. So now we're at the point now where we need real solutions to how do we bring all of these people from different parts of the continent and make it work in a way that we can rise together. How did I see the reasoning, Mama?
Hail the Most High. My brother, I've heard Ras Tau, Ras Mandula, and Mimi, and I believe we are talking the same thing, the frustration that we are facing in South Africa. But as Rastafari community, I believe we have power. I've seen so many engagements with from Rastafari community with our governments. People like Ras Tau and Ras Mandula, they engaged with our governments for a long time, and they've been listened by our government. But the thing is, it is with us, Rastafari community. If we can come as one and put our differences aside and come as one in the name of Rastafari, I believe we can make a difference, and also we can be heard by the government, by our government, you know, because as I said, we are not politicians. We can be listened. We are not talking on behalf of any political party. We are talking on behalf of Rastafari people and also on behalf of ordinary people, you know. So I believe if we as Rastafari community can be united and talk with one voice, just put our differences aside and stop calling each other with names, I tell you, we will get to the government and the government will listen to us, because the government do listen to Rastafari leaders. They did. I've seen that many times. They did. Even Thau when he was engaging with Nkosazana Zuma about Mama B, it's us Rastas, you know, it's us Rastas who kill that power of Thau, you know, by saying all these stupid names. I'm sorry to call that name, by calling him with names and calling people with names just because they are trying to bring our voices as Rastafari community. So we need unity in South Africa. And as long there is no unity, we're going to lose everything. Land, we did acquire some lands in Africa, but because of the infighting amongst each other, we lost those lands. So my calling is to Rastafari community in Azania to come together and speak with one voice.
Give thanks, give thanks.
Rastafari.
Yes, give thanks. Field Marshal Thau. I want to hear forward from the eye in terms of this matter of integration and what the eye. Let's talk about what some potential, how the eye see the solution. The eye fought on the battlefield for the Pan-African struggle. You made some excellent points in terms of the criminality, but in terms of the solution, how do we integrate these Africans? How do we install freedom of movement for the continent? I agree with the eye that we need order, because His Majesty on the throne, you couldn't just come into Ethiopia without, going through immigration. So we're very realistic. But as Rastafari, how can we provide a solution and a way forward for the legitimate problems that the eye has raised?
Give thanks to Jazmark, and give thanks to Ras Sekou Tafari, and Advocate Ras Mandula, and Mama Zo, Sister Mimi, for all their contribution in providing direction as to where we should be going. When it comes to repatriation, His Majesty made it very clear when he visited Jamaica that repatriation is a government-to-government engagement, because it requires governments. In 2018, after the Rastafari Continental Council Conference in Paarl, which we held from the 21st of March to the 26th of March, and then a few days we were still there wrapping up things. In 2018, I gate crashed the president's meeting at Lituli House, the headquarters of the ANC, with Elder Ras Jabulani. He is well known from both Jamaica, England. He's been here even during apartheid. He was banned under that system of banning some artists that they found to be opposed to apartheid. The reason we went to see the president is that after that conference, two members who attended, Ras Manai, which Sister Mama Zolisa spoke about, Ras Manai and Sister Aisha from England, it was brought to our attention that their visas or their legal stay in South Africa was expiring that day. We went to Philippi Home Affairs, that is in Cape Town, Department of Home Affairs. And then they referred us to Cape Town, Department of Home Affairs. And then when we reached there, they told us that you must look for the nearest border. I was using King Tabi's Mercedes Benz. I called King Tabi. I actually did a GPS and look where is the nearest border. The nearest border was Namibian border, which was 786 kilometers from Cape Town. I called King Tabi and asked him, do you allow me to burn all the cylinders of your car to go to the border and make sure that these two repatriates have their passport stamped? My assumption was the border was not a commercial border, therefore it closes around 6 o'clock. We drove, we broke all speed limits, we reached there, we arrived at the border, they got stamped, they entered Namibia, they came back, they give them 7 days to stay in South Africa. After all those efforts, and I thought this is a temporary solution to a permanent problem. We need to go and see the president. I'm trying to validate what Mama Zo said, that for us to meet a president, to meet a minister, to meet ambassador. I went to the Ethiopian embassy twice, protesting and defending the people of Shashamane, until members of Tron, Nyabingi, felt jealous and started to say, how can a Rastaman from South Africa who is not a Nyabingi be fighting for the rights of the Nyabingi? Ras Ivai, Bingi Glen, among others, they were part of that meeting, and I stopped getting involved in issues of Shashamane. I marched against xenophobia until the people I was marching for, they were laughing at me in the street as if I'm mad, and until the Rastafari mock me and say I'm buying them when I bought them in Jera. So she's right when she said that we need to stop calling one another with bad names because they don't encourage you. I did a lot of Rasta work. I was never for a while picked up for that. At best, they will say you are trying to position yourself, you're trying to make yourself this and that. And then this time I chose to be on the other side of debate and join those who said, Abahambe, let them go and fix their countries. Because that's the most Pan-African thing they can do. Everybody must go and fix their countries and hold their government accountable and make sure that they are not living under government that make them run away and become fugitive and refugees in all over the places. When the government is taxing them, they are voting for these governments. So the complexity of democracy is that it has created a tyrannical democrats. People who will have periodic 5 years elections, but who are tyrants and dictators. So the difference with South Africa, which is the envy of every African and why every African is ganging up against South Africans, is that here in South Africa, the people hold their government responsible. The masses here removed the president. The masses here shut down a country demanding for a free fees in the universities called the fees must fall. The masses here protested to remove all stages of Cecil John Rhodes. We're the only African country where the people are truly in power. They can change a government. They can do what they want for the best and the good of the country. That is what is going on now. And then they call them xenophobic because in other African countries, Africans get beaten for protesting. You can't do it in Zimbabwe. That is why you have all these famous Zimbabweans who are loud, like Joshua Maponga, Rutendo. They're only famous in South Africa. When you go to Zimbabwe, they are silent. Because South Africa provides freedoms that don't exist anywhere in the world. If you enter South Africa by the Beitbridge border, if you enter this country legally, within 5 minutes you're in South Africa, you got a car accident, you're entitled to a road accident fund that goes to the tune of 7 million. People are entitled to free medical care. I always hear Obama arguing about the Trump and Americans complaining about medical insurance, medical this, medical that. Yes, it's not a problem. We have free medical care. There are a lot of Zimbabweans who are caught in the borders stealing South African medicines to go and sell them in Zimbabwe. This is if there is anything called promised land in South Africa, not even Ethiopia. I'm sorry if I offend any Ethiopianist and Rastafari, but that is the truth. That is why you have all 53 countries are here. Peoples are fighting to stay here. The problem is that they want South Africa without South Africans. That's a problem. The problem is that they want this country to be borderless while all other countries, they have borders. The problem is that you even have illegal immigrants throwing stones at the police, something they don't do in their country. Now it's a problem. You can't say African unity when you have a low opinion about South Africans. They think our women are loose because they marry them for citizenship, because they drug traffic them, they turn them into drug mules, because they do all sorts of things. We have a thing called Ubuntu. South Africans are very welcoming. We did not just wake up and become xenophobic. It is 32 years later, after tolerating all these things, that every second person say we are lazy. I was in a village in Malawi called Mzimba in 2019 doing my RUF work from the north of Malawi to the part south of Malawi. I went to all provinces and all districts in Malawi. In one village called Mzimba, by the side of the road while waiting for a bus, a Malawian woman who does not even know where her capital city, Blantyre or Lilongwe is, was telling me that South Africans are lazy. I said to her, who builded this beautiful country, which is the best in the world and the best in Africa? South Africa is way better than some other countries like Spain and Portugal. I'm telling you now the truth. That is why even white people don't want to live here, because they've created a heaven for themselves. Who built this country? It was our fathers and mothers who were reduced to cheap labor. But because white people want to exploit you today, they told you that we are lazy. You know, how did the Indians brought to South Africa? There were 100 voyages by the Dutch East India Company. The 100 trips to Malaysia to go and pick up the Indians who are today in Natal, in KwaZulu, and in the Western Cape, who are today claiming to be Khoisan. Majority of them are the Malay Indians who came and crossbreed and interbreeded with the Xhosa women and created the Cape Colors. Well, how were they brought here? They were told that South Africans are lazy because South Africans did not want to work at the sugarcane plantation. The same thing now, when they get these undocumented Africans to come and work as cheap labor, they're telling them that South Africans are lazy. And they have internalized it and they're verbalizing it there, and they're saying it as a gospel truth. It is offensive. You can't unite with the people that you look down upon them. Make peace with that, solve it, or have a problem. Otherwise, we'll have a United States of Africa and patriotic South Africa. And South Africans, we are ready for that split. We have made up our mind. South Africans, I've never seen any time when South Africans critique Pan-Africanism like this year, 2026. They're tired of all these antiquated ideologies. As long as it dehumanizes them, you call them lazy, you call them stupid, you call them uneducated, you call them barbarian. PLO Lumumba, who's supposed to be a Pan-Africanist, you see the Zulu men marching in the street shirtless. He said they are half-naked barbarians. He's supposed to be a Pan-Africanist who's very versed in African culture. But he is demonizing African. So the more you're insulting the South Africans, the more you are hardening them. There is no country in Africa that is radicalized than South Africa. South Africa is a protest capital of the world. Every day South Africans are in the street protesting. There is no country in Africa that is so radicalized, and there are no citizens in Africa who know their rights than South African citizens. The more we are oppressed by apartheid, that is why we have the largest community of Ras Tafari here, more than anywhere in the world. It is because the more people you oppress them, the more you force them to resist. So in our process of resisting, we have the largest community of Pan-Africanists, largest community of Black Consciousness Movement, largest community of Afrocentrics, and largest community of Ras Tafari. Because the more you insult South Africans, the more you oppress them, the more you dehumanize them, the more you harden them. And this is a lesson that the whole of Africa has failed to learn. They thought calling South Africans lazy and calling them all of these things, it is the best way to subdue them. No, they've created a situation that is making them flee this country now, flying. And I don't have sympathy to that because I've been dying out. I'm part of a Nyabingi Ancient Council WhatsApp group, which is a global council. Every day South Africans are insulted there. And I said yesterday when I commented, it must be hard to be a South African in this platform, because you have two types of South Africans: those who are trying to suck up to those who are insulting them and try to look like different South Africans, and you have those who are like me, who does not turn their cheek. You slap me, I slap you twice. I reminded you that Jamaica itself is 98% black, controlled by 2% non-black people. So the problems we're having here is the problem that black people are having everywhere in the world. So to come and mock us with the thing of the white men oppressing us, well, you have not solved the white man problem anywhere in the world. It is hypocrisy on steroids. So how are we going to? We have to respect one another in order to unite. You can't unite with the people that you look down on them. The African countries look down on South Africans. They need to change their view on South Africans. We have been over-lectured, over-seminared, over-conferenced by people who have not solved any problem in their country, but they're trying to tell us how we should here. So once we respect, we're going to have a Pan-Africanism that is based on all of us bringing something of value to the table, not trying to displace citizens of one country and all of you uniting in that country and call it Pan-Africanism.
Serious fire, burning. I always say that this platform is not a yes man factory. You know, we don't look to and we can agree to disagree without calling names. You know what I mean? I think the brethren is raising some very valid points. You know what I mean? I really do. Ras Sekou, what do you think about what the brethren is saying?
Raskwasi?
Yes, I.
Raskwasi?
Yes, I. Greetings. All right, Ras Sekou. You might have to go out and come back in, Ras Sekou. Go out and come back in. Because I think that's one of the biggest critiques that one would say against what's happening in South Africa is that, you know, white people still control the place and you know, you have all of this fire for the black immigrants, but the brethren is saying something that's very true, which is white people control the place in all these black countries. What I would say though is that as Rastafari, we have to create a new narrative. I think we have to be very careful not to, because it's very easy to take legitimate grievance and slip into tribalism, which is a trap. And that's the only thing I would caution, you know, because the rhetoric to I sounds very similar to what's happening in America right now with the FBA. You know, with the FBA are saying the same things. People come to America and they're disrespecting Black Americans, calling Black Americans lazy, you know, getting all of the benefits of the American system. You know, and the FBA has put a lot of thing against other Black immigrants here in America too. And when I'm hearing what Ras Tau said, it sounds so similar. So what I'm saying, and again, I also hear, you know, because I went to school here in America, I can agree with a lot of things that the Black Americans are saying, because I hear people disrespecting Black Americans, not knowing the struggle, not knowing the power of the culture that's here in America among the Black people. So I can also take it from that side. But again, the same thing I tell to the FBA brethren and sisters is that you have to be very careful not to fall into the pitfall of tribalism, you know, a modern day tribalism where now, because of the disrespect of a few who are ignorant, you now become an isolationist or an exceptionalist and divorce yourself from the only solution that is proven to work, which is a Pan-African solution. Ethiopia was liberated by essentially a Pan-African force. Yes, the British was the umbrella. But when you look at who was doing the fighting, it was Africans from Malawi, from Kenya. Yes, there were some Indians there, but the majority of the people who were dying for Ethiopia were Africans. So African coming
South
together,
Africans
African
was one of them.
is part of the solution, and we have to be very careful not to fall to the pitfalls of tribalism, as His Majesty said, which is what they're using in Ethiopia, because people like Elon Musk, people like Peter Thiel, these white South Africans who are multi-billionaires, they're using this division and they're flaming those fires. They want, that bad blood to circulate. So we have to be very, very careful while we deal with the legitimate grievances, because nothing that Field Marshal Thau said is wrong. And that's what we have to understand. Two things can be true. You know what I mean? We can have a problem with criminals and people abusing a system. And we can also have a problem where, people are being manipulated against coming together. And this is why, as Rastafari, we have to come up with unique solutions. And the only solution I can see is something my brethren Kadamawi Knife calls social enterprise, where we are building economic solutions. And this is where Rastafari, we run from this like track stars, you know what I mean? We need to build economic solutions. Until we get that, we always say yes, and then we push it to the side. And again, we can't employ each other. We're impoverished, and poverty builds resentment against others. As instead of being in a position to hire people and to lobby for change of laws and from a position of power, we find ourselves impoverished and hungry. And of course, a hungry man is an angry man, you know what I mean, from the beginning of creation. So we're going to give everyone a chance to just give some final thoughts. And again, I want to focus on the solutions to this problem, a way forward, because Rastafari, Ras is the head. Ras mean head. And we cannot mire in the problem. We can't wallow in the problem. We have to have the forward thinking to first imagine a solution, propose a solution. I saw Marty Lava in the comment section, and big up the comment section, the greatest comment section on the planet. Make sure, if you love the content, support the platform, you can give a super chat, give a contribution to the platform. We are bringing cutting edge topics for the global family, and we're not going to stop. But one of the things that I saw in the comments, Marty Lava, big up yourself, he said, our enemies have think tanks where they research and they write out the policies before they execute them. And we are going ad hoc. We're not even thinking about a solution. We are just reactive to problem after problem. A problem hit us, we react to it. The next problem hit us, we react to it. We do not have a forward strategy as Rastafari people globally. We say repatriation. Repatriation is just an action. There's a whole nother section, as I said, international black integration is a whole topic. We have not even started that discussion, family, really and truly. And so we're going to continue to run into problems of integration because we have no solution that we've discussed. So I want everyone on the panel to say their final words. And let's talk about solution. Let's leave on a positive word sound for the global family in terms of solution to this problem that confronts us. Because as Field Marshal Thau said, it's not just South Africa. Wipe the beam out your own eye before you come for South Africa. And I love that sound because that accountability is lacking among I and I. All of our countries are still under domination of white supremacy, not just South Africa. What is our solution to free ourselves from the bondage that has been imposed of us in the Caribbean, in America, in all of the places that Black people currently habitate. So I'm going to ask, before we get the final word from the panelists, we lost the Elder Sekou. Do I have
Yes.
any sound to block about this panel that we had today and what everyone here has said?
Well, I think it's a classic panel.
Yes.
Because you have the pros and you have the cons.
Yes.
I have learned so much from the different sides to the coin.
Yes.
Those who look at it from the perspective of the importance of immigration, those who look from it from the other side. Yet immigration is important, but it's important to build at home. Charity begins at home, my mama used to always say to me, So we have to look at that, and we see the same problem in North America. We see the same problem in the Caribbean, as Thau indicated. In Jamaica, you have 98% of the population is African Black people. Yet the land and the resources are controlled by 2%. I hear people complaining about the beachfronts being controlled by Chinaman and Europeans, people from Spain and so on. So it's the same problem we facing wherever we go. So so we need a black print. Who is the master of that black print? Haile Selassie the First.
Straight.
We have the masters like Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah. We have Sekou Touré. We have Julius Nyeri. We have Amilcar Cabral. We have Thomas Sankara. We have now the Captain Chori. We have black prints. How do we take all these black prints and formulate them and make them workable for the people of Azania, South Africa? That is what we are. We can't just lie down and cry foul, because the problem is we have to find the solution for all these problems, and the solutions are there. The solution has been there. So I'm so guided by this panel. It was a brilliant panel, different areas of different discourses.
Yes.
And it has been elevated. I think it's something that needs to be continued until we could find practical solutions to the problems that we have. Because South Africa is a gem, is a gem that we need to hold on to. We need to make sure that South Africa, Azania, is liberated and free. But it cannot be liberated and free if we just look at it from a one-sided point of view. So I give thanks, and I will come back later on before we close to kind of look at it from a summary perspective. Give thanks.
Give thanks. So we're going to allow all the panelists to say their final word. I wanted to start with Sister Mimi, because we haven't heard much from her. She's been moving around, and she rightly wanted to focus on solutions. So Sister Mimi, if you can just give us your final word. And again, we want to end this on a solution, positive vibration. What is the way forward? As Rastafari, how can we put a way forward, not just for I and I, but for the continent?
Rastafari, give thanks. I think we need to strengthen ourselves as Rastafari community in South Africa, because for the past few months, all the unitary bodies or structures, organizations of Rastafari has not really been having active programs that are bringing us together. So I think we need to revive all this, or from RUF, RNC still meeting. I'm not sure if Ras Tafari are still attending RNC meetings. I haven't been attending RNC meetings maybe from 2023, I think, So, and other, there's a lot of Rastafari unity or unity-based organizations that are not really doing anything much. We need to revive that so that we can find a way of how do we address this internally. And then what is our standing point, like Mama Zo was emphasizing on, if we can come together. And Ras Tau, he gave the perspective that he's tired of being labeled and named after all the effortless and selfishness efforts that I have been playing, So Rasipo, I know that we have a Rastafari human rights organization as well. My proposal or my last word will be that let's find a way of using this platform as part of us having committing ourselves to deliberate on the current situation so that we can have a way forward. And then we are also expecting the same abroad, through you, Raskwasi, and the other elder who's on the platform, so that we can have continuous evaluation or monitoring of the outcome of this reasoning, so that at least we can bring that hope to ourselves, so that it can light a torch to Africa. To penetrate Africa is not a problem. We have sunk. We have RUF in other countries. We have now. There's this other organization. No, Madam Moses is always involved in many organizations.
Yes.
There's a current global something Rastafari platforms and organizations that are there that we can invite, but we need to first start at home and spread to SADC, of which is simple for us to try to coordinate through Elder Jabulani as well, so that maybe not so long we can utilize this platform, because our president is funny that he can just have 600 million overnight for all these things. So I think if they can have a budget like, remember Kosi and the elder, don't mind me talking about a government and the role and responsibility that they must play. Like Rasipo was saying, we need to involve this Babylon government so that we can, they say join them for you to beat them, We don't say if you can beat them, join them. No, we say join them to beat them. That's how I understand it. And we just need to meet and reason about this thing and have a way forward. And then immediately as we have a way forward, we can link up with the items so that this can be continuous engagement or reasoning that can find a shape that will come with some the long-lasting vision of Africa, because at the end of the day, it's not all those who are the sixth region are coming from South Africa. So one way or the other, it forces us to revive all Africa Rastafari gatherings, to have this as one of the key or burning issues that should be discussed if it's going to take place in this November, and other platforms that we can utilize so that we can really find a solution as government within the government, because we've been saying we are government within the government. So my brethren and Muma, I really appreciate the reasoning is powerful. I think, like I said before, us, the four of us in this platform, we are enough to do the magics that we've been longing to see. It's only our people's mindset and the way of thinking low and always coming with a low mentality instead of trying to appreciate low and think higher and positive every time, So with those few words, I will say everything is possible. South Africa is very influential, and it's so sad that from what has been said, we were like, when you're an adopted child and everybody plays with you and they send you to do all these things. In South Africa, it was more like that. But we need to not to be silent about it, but to, because we are the Rastafari, I think we are obliged, because we are under Rastafari banner. So we are obliged to come with some positiveness out of all these things that is happening, So I hope that we can find a way of reasoning aside, and then find a way of how do we revive or approach different structures of Rastafari, most especially those who are identity-based, Yes, I give thanks, Rastafari.
And I'm going to give the same challenge to South Africa that I gave to the Kenya Society of Rastafari, which is, I would love to see an economic development plan coming out of South Africa from some of the institutions based around agriculture. There's a global shock, economic shock that is headed because of the war in the Middle East, the breakdown of the global supply chain. It's going to hit the whole planet, including South Africa, with the cost of diesel, the cost of jet fuel. All of these things are going to be escalating in the coming months. Food sovereignty is going to be a major issue. So I'm challenging the Rastafari community in South Africa to come up with an economic development plan that we can bring here and that we can seek that funding from the international family. Because what's going to happen, family, is that we are going to have to come up with our own solutions, our own capital, our own financing to our own problem. No one is coming to save us. And I think I'll keep on sounding the trumpet. I have reasoned with governments. I've been in the rooms. I overstand the geopolitics. That is one prong of a multi-prong offensive that has to happen. And as I said, governments only respect power and leverage. So until we come to the table with power and leverage, we are not going to get that government support that we are seeking, or it's going to be trickled out and not enough to meet our needs. We have to become our solution. So I'm challenging the community to come up with an economic development plan, not a spiritual plan, because we know we can chant Naya Bingi, we know we can, Bobo Shanti have them chant. That is given. That's never gonna stop. We're coming up to the 134th anniversary. We know that. But I am challenging us to come up with a economic, and each region should have their own economic development strategy. If we can't employ our children in the next 10 years, we have failed as a global family. That should be the metric. Let's start with, can we employ our children when they come out of trade school, out of university? Do we have employment for them in Rastafari institutions? Let us start there, because we can always be reactive. But what are we doing internally to build that strength and power? I'm coming to the Ras Sekou for your solution, final sound, and also feel free to share how ones can contact the item. Sister Mimi, I'll come back to the eye before we seal to get your contact. So feel free as well. Ras Sekou, give us your final sound and any solutions that the I see as a way forward.
Rastafari, give thanks, Raskwazi. I do fully agree with you. We need an economic developmental program in Rastafari, but let's pattern it with socio-economic and cultural program.
Yes,
the issue
yes.
of culture, language, spirituality, it is always linking agricultural revolution. That it is saying, I fully agree, but His Majesty reminds us that colonialism and policy of racism impose soul-searching questions of human rights, weighing equal on the concerns of all men and nations of goodwill. So it's very vital that as we seal this debate, that we still submit that globally the world is in the geopolitics of racial extremism, fundamental war of peace through strength, what we see globally. And Rastafari community should not be caught up in the schism of xenophobic or Afrophobia, because it was a global problem. It was a global question, even when it was in Durban in 2001. So we have not resolved the question of intolerance, racism, xenophobia, and even His Majesty, what he said about that philosophy. We are moving in different philosophies now, which is economic slavery. We are moving into philosophies of policies and master plans in different countries. I fully agree that unity it is strength, that as a Rastafari community we need to be united in terms of not only the think tank but the reservoir of Rastafari knowledge, and to think deeper on the Rastafari intervention programs. I know in Azania, RNC was presenting a program on tourism, on what I'll call cultural tourism program, on how to deal with repatriation and the issues of visa prices. Thau is correct. If you have to travel to DRC from South Africa, it's very expensive. But for them to come in, it is easier. You look at the cost of communication in South Africa, it's expensive compared to other African countries. So we have to look at those basics, and how to deal with the question of reparation, because all countries are talking reparation. There is a need for us to look at repatriation, how to deal with the governments, and how to understand and understand that social media also, and the media narrative, it is also fueling the debates of undermining the role of the Pan-African countries that are also saying that, but this is a global phenomenon, it's a global problem. The South African immigration laws, they were Pan-African until we get into GNU. Even under GNU, we know the narrative of the Zionism and Arabization and apartheid and neo-colonial projects that come from racist countries. So we have to be clear as the Rastafari communities that we understand, we grasp, we know our story, we know our history, we empower the youth and women, because it's women and youth who are also refugees, who are also migrants. The governments are not doing their work. We have to be playing oversight and foresight over government. So in short, Raskwesi, the Rastafari Human Rights Institute, it is also on the WhatsApp channel. You also find INI on rasgideon@gmail.com. The Rastafari Human Rights Institute, one word, at gmail.com. And even on the social advisory and the debates that we are having even during this Rastafari month. We give thanks for coordinating this gathering during the Rastafari month, the month also of the African Union. Give thanks.
Give thanks, give thanks. Powerful, powerful. And I just want to say again, big up to the greatest comment section on the planet. I see some of our great matriarchs and patriarchs in the comments. I want to just acknowledge the presence of the former international president of the EWF, Queen Mother Empress Ima, in the comment section. No stranger to South Africa. Big up yourself, Empress Ima. I want to also big up Empress Cathy Howell, the daughter of the Honorable Leonard P. Howell, in the comment section. I want to also acknowledge Queen Mother Moses, also in the comment section. Also our Royal Queen, Mama Aini, also in the comment section. We have so many of the family here having this reasoning, so I just want to acknowledge their presence. John Marcos of the Bahamas, Nyabingios, big up yourself. Too many ones to name, so if I miss the eye, forgive I. Elder Johnny Johnson, big up yourself. Dr. Paliani, I see Malawi checking in. So many ones have been here, and I want the item to spread the sound, because when we hear these issues in the media, what I don't want is for us to become reactive and, we jump to one side or the other. Let us listen, let us hear all of the angles, and then let us be strategic in terms of plotting a way forward. I think we have enough time on the battlefield to not fall into this kind of reactive trap that every time they feed us something in the media or a narrative as Rastafari, we just jump on it and take it up, especially when we have Rastafari family on the ground in all of these places now. It's not like one time where we just have to trust the media. We have the technology. We see the images coming out of South Africa. Immediately, we can just call our brethren in South Africa and have a panel and hear from them directly how they're seeing it, without us in the diaspora just coming to a conclusion based on what we're being fed. So I give thanks for this panel. Mama Zo, if you can just give us your final word sound and a way forward, a positive solution. Give thanks.
All right. I'm sorry. I was supposed to be out here by 7, but I didn't want to be rude. I'm performing at 8, but I didn't want to be rude. So after I'm done, I'll be out.
Yes,
you know.
no problem.
So I just want to thank the elder, also Thau, Rasi Pomandula, and also Mimi for this platform. And engaging in so crucial and vital issues. All I can say, my brother, I've said it before, that all we need is unity. You know, if you are not united, there's nothing we can achieve. We are always going to lose. If we keep on pointing fingers on each other and degrading our dignity, you know, we are going to lose everything. Rastafari community international, they need to come together, talk with one voice, and then we can achieve whatever we want to achieve, because we are the only people who can be listened by these governments. Because we don't come with anger, we don't come with violence, we don't come with marches, we come and talk to them as people. So all we need is unity amongst each other so that we can achieve all these goals that we want to achieve. And also I want to just to strengthen Thau, you know, knowing him, how much he loved Rastafari and how much he loved our community in Rastafari. I just want to pick up him. Don't give up on us. Never give up on us. Let's revive all these Rastafari institutions, Rastafari organizations. Come together, you know. Yes, stones will be thrown, but this time it's not about us anymore. It's about uniting Africa. It's about uniting people of the world together. And I believe Rastafari children can achieve that and can do it. Rastafari.
Mighty.
Rasquazi?
Yes. Elder Sekou.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, disappeared. I wasn't hearing anything.
Okay, you can hear now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, my sister. Thank you for your song and have a lovely performance.
Thank you.
More love and light, and I will be in contact with the eye for your individual interview here on the Lion Voice, because we want to hear
Rastafari. Give thanks, Aya. Thank you so much, Rastafari.
Yes, perfect love. Okay, Field Marshal, we're coming to the eye now for your final word sound and a way forward.
Give thanks to Jasmak, and also give thanks to Elder Ras Sekou Tafari for his objective, balanced comments. It's been a great pleasure. And also give thanks to my sister, Sister Mimi, and Mama Zo, and also to Rasipo for everyone's contribution, even those who are in the comment section, for their comments and their involvement. Yes, indeed, we need solutions to the problem. The first solutions, I've already articulated it, that this is not xenophobia or Afrophobia. It's an African solution to African problem, because if it was the white men who were chasing our fellow Africans, it was going to be quickly termed racism. But it is South African Africans who are raising their concerns about their fellow Africans. Now they need to be looked at with a solution-based eye, not to just use this thing that we've been seeing on social media. Everybody is just trying to invalidate South Africans' grievances as just xenophobia, Afrophobia, and all of. In South Africa, we have a heritage site called Freedom Park, heritage site in Pretoria. It is recording 8 conflicts. That we had 8 conflicts in this country. The first conflict was the pre-colonial conflict, where Africans were fighting among ourselves. Shaka Zulu is celebrated as one of the greatest military genius. But when you look at both the old Shaka Zulu movie that was produced in the 1980s by Hollywood, actually it was one of the highly financed movie, and the recent Shaka Zulu, which is produced in South Africa, called Ishaka Elembe, there is nowhere you see Shaka killing a white man. So he's the greatest killer, the greatest general, the greatest military genius for killing fellow black people to establish the Zulu kingdom. Some they say he was uniting them through war. Nevertheless, his military strategies are still used by the British Army because he was the greatest military tactician. So it forms part of the pre-colonial war that before colonialism, before we came across the white men, we had fights among ourselves as Africans, fighting over resources, livestock, grazing land, watering spots for our animals, and all these things. And none of that fight was considered to be Afrophobia, or you are fighting your fellow Africans because you fear the white man. We did not even know about the existence of the white man. And in some instances, we've been fighting among ourselves before the white man can genetically mutate from our recessive genes. So conflict is a human thing, particularly when it comes to resources, economical opportunities, and so forth. Europeans were busy killing one another before they discover other people to kill. You can watch movies about the Vikings, Spartacus, all of that. Asians did the same thing. You can see movies by the likes of the greatest warlord like Genghis Khan, The Punishment of God, among others. And then we go to the Asians, the Chinese. They had this big war among themselves during the time of Mao Zedong and the unification of China. They had to, that was the cost of unity. They had to deal with deviant and reactionary forces among themselves in order to achieve that Chinese unity. Vietnam had to divide into two, North Vietnam and South Vietnam, and they fought among one another. So conflict is a human thing, it's not an African thing. So it is dishonest of history. When it is happening in South Africa, you call it Afrophobia because South Africans hate fellow Africans, forgetting that it is about resources, is about economic opportunities, it is about privilege. So going to the solution is that, number one, we need to be grounded in what really Pan-Africanism is. And clearly Pan-Africanism does not admit everything. I gave 2 examples of Marcus Garvey and His Majesty Haile Selassie. That Marcus Garvey said, my aim is not to take all black people to Africa because not all of you are good here and you are not going to be good there. And I gave also the example of His Majesty when he grants Shashamane, that he also put conditions as to those who will inhabit the land should be those who will contribute to the development of Ethiopia. Even when he was sending students abroad to go and study, he said they must go and learn the good things and leave the bad things there and bring the good to develop Ethiopia. So Pan-Africanism must be principled based on solidarity, unity, development, and it should shun criminality. It must not condone criminality. It must not condone drug dealing and still say, oh, because they are black, so they are okay to human traffic our children. They are okay to human traffic our women. They are okay to insult citizens of one particular country because they want to take it over, and they are running away from their own country, which they have run it down through their own corruption. So Pan-Africanism must be principled. Rastafari must be principled. His Majesty spoke of international morality. His Majesty talked about collective security. It mustn't be security for some and insecurity for others. In this case, South Africans are feeling very insecure, and Africans are feeling very secure to be here. That is why you have a lot of videos that are circulating that are saying we are not going anywhere. We're here to stay. If you don't want us, you can rather go to Zimbabwe. We'll stay here. So we need to have a principled thing. We can't have criminals as a mouthpiece of Pan-Africanism. But also, we need to understand that these are different stages of our struggle among ourselves and among our colonizers. But it is not true that every time when Africans are raising their discontent, they are being funded by Israel or America or CIA or all these type of things. You don't need to delegitimize legitimate issues and concerns. You need to, as a Rastafari, apply a deeper analysis, being self-critical, being constructive, and being very creative in looking at the issues so that you don't dismiss everything. What I found very ironic, as Mama Zo said, we work together in the Rastafari United Front. Our mandate was unity of Rastafari. What I found very ironic is that Rastafari who rejected unity within the movement, whether because they can't be led by Thau or because we can't be uniting with other people who don't read the Bible while we read the Bible, or we can't unite with those ones because we don't like them. I find people who refuse to unite among themselves are talking about African unity. They want to unite with Africans that they said they are bald head, they are meat eaters, and all of that. So if we are going to have a Rastafari that is going to be the leader of the international community, we need to transcend our own pettiness. We need to transcend our petty prejudice. We need to transcend our bigotry. We need to transcend our religious fundamentalism that we have developed within a levity and focus on the broader issue. That what is good for the goose, it's good for the gander. If you want to unite Africa, let us first show a proof of concept that we can first unite the Rastafari community. We're failing to unite our own community. We're talking about uniting the Africans who are 3,000 tribes or nation group, 2,000 languages, 3,000 different traditions and expressions, and divided through different religions like Christianity, Islam, and indigenous traditions. So let us prove a proof of concept. The world think of us as the most peaceful group of people, the most united group of people, the most loving group of people. But I've never experienced so much hate like in this moment. So if we are going to provide Africa with their direction, conceptual clarity like charity begins at home. We must first perfect it in the Rastafari movement, and then we can perfect it in the African movement. As long as we still have our own divisions based on theology, based on food, based on identity, based on our dress code, we must forget about these things that we're talking about uniting Africa when we can't unite ourselves. You can't run a country when you can't run your own family. Give thanks.
Hot. I love it. And one of the reasons I love having the Field Marshal Thau is because the I speak your mind. And one of the things that I'm trying to chant to I global family is that unity does not mean uniformity, and that we can agree to disagree. I disagree with some of the things that Field Marshal has said in past episodes as a reference to the Bible and things, but I still see him as my brother, and we have to know that his contribution is valuable. Just like a Ras who's dealing with Kemet, their contribute. I might disagree with something that they say about the importance of Kemet or focus on that, or what they say about something else, but that doesn't make them my enemy. And this is where we have gone wrong. Brethren eat fish, and we castigate him to hell because he's a fish eater. You know what I mean? We cannot, we don't have that luxury anymore. I mean, the world is about to get very real for all of I and I. And this is by design. You know, the people who are in control are going to crash the current system to bring in a new system. And if we are not united, if we are not on top of things, then we are going to suffer like the uneducated mass. And we have the benefit of having His Majesty, so we have no excuse. So I really love what Field Marshal Thau said, and we will have to find a way to agree to disagree and still get the job done. And this is why I'm challenging South Africa. I'm challenging the I too, Field Marshal, because the I is a natural born leader. I'm challenging the I, Field Marshal Thau, an economic plan, because I think we need to unite around a plan. You know, I don't think unity for unity's sake doesn't last very long, because then people get bored and they start arguing about something that, is not putting food on the table. So I think we need an economic plan that we can start to implement. And also, I heard you mention Tron earlier. I would definitely love to learn more offline about that dispute, because I'm a founding member of Tron as well, although I'm not as active as I used to be. Bingy Glenn and Ras Iva are my brothers as well, and I think everyone has something valuable to bring to the table. I just think our sequencing is off, so we're just clashing based on differences of opinion, and we don't need to clash right now. We need to find out what everybody's lane is and fit the puzzle together. But we have to, again, set that economic base. And we've been neglecting that. We've been running from that. We bring up something else anytime. A lot of people cuss me. I talk about money too much. I'm not talking about capitalism. We're talking about developing social enterprise where the profit of the business is reinvested into your community, into your nation, which is what His Majesty advocated for, social enterprise. You know what I mean? And we've done episodes on that in the past. But Ras Sekou, give us your final sound on what you've heard today and the way forward. Your phone is it's a little crackly. It's crackling. Hold on, we're not hearing the eye. Talk again. No, we're not. It's sounding like you're underwater, or you're breaking up. Is this your old phone? If you can try the new phone, even if you don't have any visual. We're not hearing the eye on this line here. Can you go out and come back in? Try and go out and come back in, because we're not hearing the eye at all. While we wait for the elder, let me just acknowledge again some of our audience in the comment section. If you can support the channel, we are at 53 monthly subscribers. We are building a platform based on community support. So we need the global family. If you can afford even $5, $10 a month, it would be very strengthening to get the item to join our Patreon family. We are giving grants. We gave our first Community Works grant for the month of June to Mama G, Maroon Mama out of Jamaica. We're giving $100 US every month to a Rastafari in the global family that's doing powerful community work. So we had our first vote. And if you join our monthly membership, you can vote on who it is. And once you're a member for over 3 months, you can nominate anybody you want to nominate around the globe. And we are again, just highlighting. We want to highlight people doing great work. We want to give them a platform to get more strength, to get more visibility. So this is one of the things that we're doing with our community of like-minded individuals. So if you are interested in not just talking, but being part of the solution, join the Lion Voice Network family on our Lion Pride on Patreon program. We have a big slate moving forward. We're going to be reasoning with the EWF family coming up this strong. The EWF convention is coming up Wednesday. It's going to be the annual convention of the EWF. We have to look at these institutions as part of the solution and how we are able to use these institutions to move forward. So big up all my EWF family. I am a member of Local 12, and I will be giving a report on the convention on this platform for the global family. So all of us have a role to play. If you want to give a super chat to this, there's a button on top of the comment section. Feel free to give your contribution, $5, $10. Big up Grassroots. Big up Empress Ima becoming a member of the channel. Give thanks, Mama. We do thank you for your support. Our most recent member. And if everybody supports Rastafari independent, non-aligned media, then we're going to be able to have more strength. Ras Sekou?
Yes, you hear me better now?
Perfect.
Yes,
So give us your
this has been a struggle. Anyway, I really full joy this panel. Something I think should be continued. I look at the whole idea of the contradictions. We have major contradictions. We have minor contradictions. But however, these contradictions can be worked out, and we can work through them, especially the minor ones. The whole idea that the disrespect of the community in South Africa, Azania, that disrespect is something that we cannot uphold. We cannot uphold it. That conflict and that disrespect of those coming out. And I'm going to say this is a problem, a major problem, a major contradiction based on what we call micronationalism. Because if you come in, you have to respect the people who are your hosts. You have to respect your hosts. You have to, and also the hosts have to respect your guests. But nonetheless, the conflicts are there, and conflicts as the general said, is not something that started yesterday with Africans. It's something that go from time immemorial in terms of the contradictions and we have conflicts going on from time. Genghis Khan, you have conflicts. If you look at as he mentioned, the revolution in China, where for China to become one China, they had a lot of people died and a lot of people was moved out of the way. So it's a lot of things that has to be cleared within the part of that's not just Rastafari, but as the Pan-African nation and a whole. So there's a lot of things that has to be worked out. There are many minor contradictions as there are major contradictions. But we could work it out because we are one African people. And we have to find a way, we have to find a solution how we could get around it. As I indicated previously, the black print is there from those of our heroes, those of our heroes who, we have Winnie Mandela, we have Thomas Sankara, we have all those Mikhail Cabral who have written and have lived it in terms of how we can work out the fundamentals. But the whole idea is we need to have a sit down and have a clear solution in terms of finding a proper solution for the solution in Tanzania today. We have to find a solution. The solution is not my solution, is the solution of the masses of the people. The masses of the people is important to find a solution for the masses of the people. The conflicts is there. How do we work through the conflicts as African people, as Rastafari people? How do we work it out? The contradictions. There are those who believe in Rastafari, who believe in the Bible, those who don't believe in the Bible. They have those who, but at the end of the day, we see one Their Majesty. We see one Haile Selassie. We see one Empress Menen. So we have to find solutions in terms of if we're going to talk about a one Africa, one army, one government. At the end of the day, one solution. How do we work that through? So this was really very much a strong reasoning from all those, especially our brothers and sisters on the continent, in South Africa, Ras Sekou, the Field Marshal, and all our sisters in terms of their contribution made. But we have to continue the solution because at the end of the day, we are now facing World War III. And important that we need to feed the world. We have to feed ourselves. Charity, as I would say, as my mama always tell us, charity begins at home. And we need to feed ourselves because agriculture is the first culture. How do we organize cooperatives among ourselves, especially within the South African Azania space? These are some of the things we need to look at. We need to move away from problems and how we have to hammer out solutions. So here it is. I'm so happy to be here. Although within the technical problems that we were facing and so on, but the gist of it is we have to continue to hammer out. And we are not enemies of one another. We have to find a way how to make this thing work for the Africans and so on. And the whole idea is the Africans coming into South Africa from other places have to learn to respect the host country. We cannot afford to have criminals. We cannot afford to have crooks. You can't afford to come in with on a student visa and then you change a work visa and then you're selling drugs and so on and so on. But these things are some of these things are minor contradictions because it's not the majority of the population. It's not the majority of because most Nigerians don't want to leave their home. Most Ghanaians don't want to leave Ghana. Most people from Ivory Coast don't want to leave. They will if they had a proper choice, they would want to stay at home. And the problem of the major problem, what is the whole idea of imperialism, whether it is European imperialism, whether it is US imperialism, they are the major tyrant, they're the major ones that has caused all these problems within the African continent. And therefore we must look and make sure and steer them and define that they are the problems why we as Africans are fighting one another. And we need to know who the enemy is. We need to know who the enemy is. And the enemy is not your Ghanaian brother. The enemy is not your brother from Tanzania and Malawi. The enemy is the European colonialism, European imperialism, and US imperialism. That is the major enemy, So we have to look at the minor and the major contradictions that we face today. And we need to come together and know that our agriculture is the first culture because we need to be able to feed ourselves, especially with what is coming down here. We on the brink of what we call a World War III. It may look at it as far away, but any minute or any day now, we could reach there. And South Africa has made strong decisions in terms of declaring taking the Zionist state of Israel to the United Nations in terms of declaring it as a Zionist nation, another apartheid state. So we salute South Africa for taking need strong position because these are the positions that we take life. So let us look at these things and we come together again to with more solutions to find the problem.
We're losing the eye, Ras Sekou. We're losing the eye. Maybe you can go out and come back in, but the fullness is that we have internal work to do, and that's what I want everyone here to leave with, that sound. We have work to do, you know what I mean? And it's easy to point at South Africa and say, boy, South Africa, but we don't know if when we see videos of South Africans running down another African, if that person is a thief, you know, or that person just raped somebody, you know, and then it's shown to us like xenophobia or Afrophobia. So we have to be very critical of the propaganda that we see, as the ones have said, and we have to not be reactionary. Up until now, Rastafari has been a defense force. We have been reacting to what's happening, and that is commendable. You know what I mean? That is commendable. But we have to now be on the offensive, and offensive takes economics. So I want to put it back there to all of my family in Kingston, Jamaica this evening. The Abyssinians will be in New Kingston Conscious Reggae Concert. Make sure that the item support with your dollars, with your movements. Be there. All of my Jamaica Rastafari family. This is a Rastafari event funded by a Rastafari brethren. Let us make sure that it's an economically sound project for the brethren who has invested in bringing the Abyssinians to Kingston, Jamaica. So these are the things that we want to start. Big up Marty Lava for the $10 contribution. And Marty Lava always teases I about, you know, because we appeal for contribution to the platform about the prosperity gospel. But the distinction that we make here is that we're not asking for money to buy Benz and Bimmer and to pose. We're requiring contribution. We're providing a product, which is Rastafari independent, non-aligned media. And we're saying to the family, to be able to produce it, to continue it, to grow it, it's going to take I to fund it. It's not going to be anybody else to fund our media. And without our media, we wouldn't be having this discussion over land and sea. I can guarantee you that this is going to go over 1,000 views, you know, by the time it's on the replay. And without our media, we don't get this nuanced discussion. All we see is Field Marshal Thau send out something on Facebook and you feel away, but you don't get to hear him explain what he's saying and hear how reasonable what the brethren is saying sound. We don't get to hear from Advocate Sifo, you know what I mean? So media is very important for us to have these media platforms, and we can't expect South Africa media or Jamaica mainstream media to take up this and do it for us. So that's why Lion Voice Network is so important, and that's why it needs to be financed. And that's why I say, you know, aside from seeking sponsorship, you know what I mean, we appeal to the audience, because this has to be audience funded. It needs to be funded by the community, for the community. Ras Sekou, just seal up your sound.
Yes. So I just want to reiterate that the major situation is the minor and major contradictions within I that we can solve. It's not unsolvable. It's not an unsolvable situation. We have the black print, so we need to work on that black print. We have to face that reality that today South Africa has triumphed over what we call apartheid, and has brought up to the world the whole idea that Israel is the Israeli state, which is now a Zionist state, similar to apartheid. That is and so we have to salute the people of Azania. We bring that to the forefront, but nonetheless, we must remember that we are now watching and looking at the whole idea of World War III is inevitable, is on our doorsteps. And you know, we can solve that problem, deal with the problem of World War III. We must be able to feed ourselves. We must be able to be self-sufficient. And the only how we can deal with the problem is we have to look at all the contradictions, the minor and the major contradictions within within ourselves and find solutions to these problems. So I'm glad to be part of this triumphant dialogue, you know, that has taken place this morning, and I trust, and this evening in terms of South African time, and I trust that we as African people, we as Rastafari people, no matter what house or one mansion it belongs to, that we must be able to continue this dialogue and work towards a solution, one of peace, a peaceful solution. And the reality of it is we have to uphold the creed, the Rastafari creed, which says we must take care, we must clothe the naked, feed the hungry, and we must give homes and houses to those who need homes, because we wouldn't fight. People are going to fight for bread and butter issues. They're not going to fight for things outside of that. We're going to fight. People are going to fight for tangibles, and this is our reality. So I give thanks. I'm really thankful. I'm glad to be able to that I could hear the different sides of the coin. All the different sides, you know, our sisters and our brothers, and I'm very much more thankful to hear the sound of the field marshal. I think he was very much pointed in terms of where we are and the problems that we are facing. We cannot run away from these problems, but we need to find the solutions. And how do we find the solutions? We can't hide and put them under the table. We must take them up and look at them and deal with them in a realistic way. So give thanks and all blessings. And as the struggle continues, their majesties are satisfied. Give thanks.
Give thanks, give thanks. Let me just give my solution, my final sound. I want us to picture and imagine a network of working farms that are creating ITAL food from an ITAL standard that is being sold through a network of farmers markets that are branded, controlled, that our produce has stickers on it with registered trademark, owned by a Rastafari trust registered in South Africa. And that now with this network of farms that's generating millions of dollars because we're feeding ourselves and we're feeding the surrounding Africans who are coming for ITAL food because they want clean food during the Armageddon. Now we can go to the government and say, look, we have this industry that we are controlling, and each farm would also have a school educating the youths in agriculture, agro-processing, agro-business. Let me put that in there. But we now go to the government and say, this is what we want. We want the ability to bring in Africans from the diaspora and from other African countries. And we're going to have an integration project. And for every one person that we bring in, we're going to employ 5 South Africans as well. Why am I saying this? Because we have to come up with a plan for integration done properly, that is well financed, that makes sense. As Rastafari, we have to be the solution that we want to see. How does the workings of Zion now? This is where we are as a movement. We are beyond just survival. Our elders have won that battle. Not only did they survive, but they spread this thing around the 4 corners of creation. We won that fight. You know what I mean? The next part of it now is the industrialization, from survival to industry, where we can now have industries that we as Rastafari are known for, and that we control, and that our children are employed in. And the 2 industries that we have identified here are agriculture and construction. Agriculture, because ITAL is something that's unique to I, and with the whole vegan movement, ITAL now can become the foundation because ITAL is higher than organic. So the food is one. and that include ganja. We put ganja in the food category. And then the other is construction, because we have to build the structures, the health centers, the schools, the all of the infrastructure that we want according to the eco-friendly, the hemp, the solar panels, all of that vision that we have of a sustainable, holistic, Afro futuristic society. We have to build it. And this is what our children now can be employed in, building out these structures. So these are two industries, low hanging fruit as Rastafari. And I'm challenging all of my family on the continent to develop these economic plans based around those two industries. And remember, food, clothes, and shelter are basic human needs. So you cannot go wrong in these areas. I'm challenging us to come up with economic plans so we can start to actually build community, not with zeal, not with rhetoric, but with a firm financial economic foundation. We are here as Rastafari Independent Non-Aligned Media to amplify the movement, to gather the people, to mobilize the capital and move the capital over land and sea and let the ones them know what's happening. That's our role as Rastafari Independent Non-Aligned Media. As we grow, we will continue to do that. But we need our family on the ground, the organizations in each of the regions to develop economic plans. I'm going to be challenging the global family. I don't want to hear about which flag goes on top. I talk about the divinity of his mice, but nobody can tell I about the divinity of Kadamari Haile Selassie. I live that. So you know what I mean? That's just to inspire others. But the real nitty gritty right now, family, is are we prepared for World War III? And I would tell my elder Ras Sekou, World War III already started. It's already unfolding. It's different theaters unfolding, but it's already, are we prepared for the economic shocks, the New World Order plan, all of these things that these ones have been planning for decades? And that we have known about, because we have sung about them, we have chanted them down. Are we now prepared? And the answer is, at this particular second, we're not prepared. But that doesn't mean we cannot get prepared. Hurricane Melissa revealed that Jamaica was not prepared for disaster. You know what I mean? And if something happened in South Africa, I'm sure the results would be similar because they're not prepared. So I'm challenging the Rastafari community. Put down the petty differences. Let us come up with some economic plans, and we will highlight them here. We will share them with the like-minded sons and daughters to try to identify how we can find the funding for these projects. But this is something that we have to do internally. There's no one, if we're waiting on goodwill from others, boy, I don't know what to tell you them. You know what I mean? We have to start, and even as we start, there will be others that do have goodwill that will contribute, but we have to do the work. So for these few words, I do give thanks, big up all of the panel, all of the ones them. It's been a joy. Field Marshal Ras Sekou, we'll be in touch. Perfect love and strength, and until next time, love. You know what I mean? Love, and we will win, and we are confident in the victory of good over evil. Final sound, Field Marshal.
Now give thanks, Gentleman Kwasi, and also give thanks bringing in Ras Sekou Tafari. You know, that one is my legend for a long time.
Yes, I too.
So I've met to share the platform with the ancient and drank from his wisdom cup, or his cup of wise mind. And yes, indeed, this was a robust, dynamic Rastafari platform. As Rastafari always say, you know, reasoning is a cornerstone where we come together to separate sense from nonsense. So we give thanks, Rastafari.
That is it. And we're focused on solutions over here, Field Marshal. We're documenting the uprising with Rastafari Independent Non-Aligned Media. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a moment. More than once, I mentioned the economic program.
Yes.
And not to have delved deep into that because it is quite important. Because fundamentally, Rastafari is based on self-reliant. You know, I always say that with the Rastafari, 90% of us are unemployed and unemployable. And I always say that I'm unemployable, meaning that I'm not even available for employment.
Yes,
So
yes.
I'm not only because there's no one to employ me. No, Marcus Garvey taught us through self-reliance, self-employment, self-reliance. So I always in teachings around that salary, it's a bribe they give us to forget about our dreams. Because
Yes.
when you are free, you have so much time to do so much things. Considering what I do, me, I don't know how my week is. On Monday, I might be called that there is a government conference, there is a university conference, there is a civil society movement. So being unemployed, it gives me the freedom to just wake up and pick up and go. And with a good overstanding family that knows that, you know what, they share me with everyone. So there is no sad glitches. So Rastafari Economic Empowerment Program is important. But also, what I've noticed, like with most of our black people, is we don't like to empower one another. We have
Yes.
internal jealousy. If we engage in honest, self-reflective, self-critical, and constructive reflection of ourselves as a leader in a movement, is that most of the time we even sabotage one another economic
Yes.
venture. I always
Yes.
tell people, if you want to open a business, you must not have Rastafari as your primary clientele because they are
Yes.
going to exercise patronizing you. And you saying that
Yes.
go to Dijasmark Kwasi's shop because he's Naya, or he's not Nyabingi, or he read the Bible, or he does not.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that which no one else does that because all these other people they patronize one another without even looking at whether you are a Satanist or whatever. I know black people who wear Tommy Hilfiger's t-shirts, and Tommy Hilfiger has long said he hates black people. Most of the designers, Balenciaga and all of that most of our political elites are wearing their labels. They hate black people to the core, but they have black people as 90% of their clients. So sometimes we have a problem that no other people have, and it reminds me of what His Majesty said that uh, our challenges have no counterpart in human existence. So when you internalize that, you realize that some of our self-created problems have no counterpart in human existence. They're actually bordering into madness. So we need to bring in this solution-based approach that I emphasize for the past 30 minutes to an hour on this platform. That okay, fine, we dealt with the problem. Therefore, what is the solution? Because it is futile to point a problem without providing a solution.
Big
If you
time.
don't provide solution, therefore you are too. So our biggest challenge as Rastafari is economics. We're one of the impoverished communities
Yes.
by this and even by so many things. So give thanks, and I would like us to engage more on the Rastafari economic empowerment programs that are in place. The cannabis has been decriminalized in South Africa. There are certain opportunities, but we are dealing with now apartheid cannabis in South Africa. There are more white people who are controlling cannabis than the Rastafari combined, as much as we are the largest community. The same white people who used to buy cannabis from us, they are the ones now who are having more cannabis than us because the present legislation favors them. So
Yes.
let's have these Rastafari economic empowerment programs. Rastafari, give thanks to
Haile
Jasmine.
Selassie the first. And I'm gonna call the eye forward so we can talk on that topic because we don't spend enough time future casting what we want to see. We burn Babylon, but we have not created an alternative to Babylon. And to that's where the majority of our time needs to be. And again, the whole concept of integration, not just repatriation, which is a step. Integration, and integration require economics. So we're going to continue on that journey. Big up, Elder. Big up to all of the family. Spread this one out far. This was a classic. And you know that we will never stop. because the time has come for the lions to tell our own story. And this is the lion voice. Eli?
This is
Ras
the
Tafari.
The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is
the lion's voice. They had no fear at all. It was in my star, it was God, let him be praised. In my star, it was God, let him be praised.
What are you waiting for? Come together, calling from near and far. Know who you are. What are you waiting for? Rally up, it's Exodus. What are you waiting for? Ancestors paved the way for us. Yes, I am Ketis Oyonde, asking, what are you waiting for to come together? The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is the lion's voice.
Greetings, this is Warrior King, and the time has come for the lions and the lioness to tell their own story. This is the lion's voice. Give thanks and praise for the wonderful blessing that's been poured on me. Give thanks and praise. Jah use I as an instrument to set the people free. Jah give her the powers to chant. Jah give her the powers to chant. Ras Tafari, the lion's voice.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega, representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the lion's voice, Rastafari.
Yeah, David Dread of Steel Person. I'm saying hail to Lion Voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here. Hear me now. Yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.